Chapter 7. There comes a point in everyone's life where they have only one thought in their mind. That thought is, I wonder how I can piss the world off today. That thought went through Naruto's mind when he started getting ready for the day. He looked to his weapon scrolls and other items he would need for the day. He looked at his cloths in the closet and smirked as he decided what to do today. Sakura was in a dream world today. First, she got up an hour earlier than she normally would because today she was going to take a test with her Sasuke-kun. She got her best dress and put on her makeup, got all the little journals she kept on Sasuke and the new journal she bought yesterday to write everything her and Sasuke did now that they are on the same team. She thought about her other teammate and said, what a jerk. Remembering how he described himself. It was one line. My name is Naruto. That made everyone their sweat drop. Sakura looked at the clock and said, I'm going to be late. Funny thing is, she is 2 hours earlier than she is supposed to be. Sasuke was in his shower getting ready for the day. His thoughts were, today I will be one step closer to killing him. After getting out of the shower, he put on his clothes that he had laid on his bed and quickly left to meet his team. He stopped for a moment feeling something was wrong but could not figure it out. Oh well. It will only get in my way to kill him. On his way to the training ground, when he would pass someone who was a ninja, they would snicker at him, but his pride would not let him ask why. Sasuke and Sakura arrived within 5 minutes of each other, but Sasuke ignored her and she was busy writing something in journal. 2 hours after they were supposed to meet for their team meeting, both Kakashi and Naruto had not shown up. Suddenly the sound of music echoed across the village of Konoha, waking everyone who was not up yet and making everyone cover their ears. Now some of you might be wondering where the music was coming from. That is actually kind of funny. When people started to exit their houses to see where the music was coming from, they saw something that no one in the history of the village had ever seen. A certain red-eyed woman looked at the source and started to laugh her ass off. Everyone looked up at the Hokage monument and saw the 4 faces of the Hokage singing with the words to the song and showing actual expressions. Of course it was a genjutsu, but that was beside the point. Her laughter grew even more to the point she started to cry when a figure was seen walking down the middle of the street. Said figure was 5 feet 10 inches tall and weighed about 160 pounds. He had blonde hair and blue eyes. He was currently dancing to the music that was playing. Now that would be funny, but was not the reason said red-eye woman was laughing. No, the reason was how he was dressed, or not dressed would be a better word for it. The only cloths he had on was a pair of boxers that had the word sexy on the front and a picture of 2 hands on the back and a pimp hat with a cane. Once the figure got closer and the red-eye woman could see his muscles and how ripped he was, he said, "Morning, Sensei Haim," as he continued to dance through town on his way to the training ground. Now the song he was dancing to and the Hokages were singing went a little like this. I'm too sexy for my love, too sexy for my love, love's going to leave me. I'm too sexy for my shirt, too sexy for my shirt, so sexy it hurts. And I'm too sexy for Konoha, too sexy for Konoha Suna and Awa. And I'm too sexy for your party, too sexy for your party. No way, I'm disco dancing, I'm a model, you know what I mean. And I do my little turn on the catwalk, yeah, on the catwalk, yeah, I do my little turn. On the catwalk, I'm too sexy for my bar, too sexy for my bar, too sexy by far, and I'm too sexy for my hat, too sexy for my hat. What do you think about that? I'm a model, you know what I mean, and I do my little turn on the catwalk, yeah, on the catwalk, yeah, I shake my little touche. On the catwalk, I'm too sexy for my cos, I'm a model, you know what I mean, and I do my little turn on the catwalk, yeah, on the catwalk, yeah, I shake my little touche on the catwalk. I'm too sexy for my cat, poor pussy cat. I'm too sexy for my love, too sexy for my love, love's going to leave me. And I'm too sexy for this song. Kakashi, who along with anyone else who was asleep, decided to give it up as the music still played and got ready for the day. When he got to the training ground, the song was just about to end and he looked at his team, but sweat dropped as 2 of his students were gaping looking behind Kakashi. He turned and sweat dropped as his 3rd student was currently standing on top of water, still dancing with the music. As the final line of the song hit, Naruto took off his pimp hat and threw it and his cane in the air. Just at the last word, they went up in a puff of smoke, and suddenly everyone's attention was diverted to Sasuke, as he was consumed in a puff of smoke. When the smoke cleared, the shirt Sasuke had on now had changed. His traditional blue Uchiha shirt was now a sleeveless t-shirt that said, "I'm an upset chicken-headed insignificant," hard as Kakashi sweat dropped and Sakura fainted from the mental trauma. Sasuke was fuming on the inside, and Naruto looked like nothing was wrong. After reviving Sakura, Kakashi said now that everyone is awake and looks at Naruto, who is still dressed only in his boxers. Ready, I guess I will now explain the test. He pulls out 2 bells. Kakashi said now you have 3 hours to get these bells from me, and the one who does not has to go back to the academy. Come at me with the intent to kill. Begin. Sasuke and Sakura disappeared into the surrounding area, and Naruto just leaned against a tree and pulled out an pod don't own any right and scrolled down the list of song. Kakashi's sweat dropped and said, compared to the others you're weird. Naruto smirked and stood up stretching and said, this one's for you, Kakashi. And hit play. Naruto got into a stance Kakashi recognized as the Iron Fist style guy he used and said, oh shit. As the music started playing across the entire village again as the Hokage sang. Suddenly Naruto smirked and Kakashi pulled up his Haiate showing his Sharingan, causing Sasuke to gasp. Then they both blurred out of existence. Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those cats were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening, but they fought with expert timing. They were funky Chinamen from funky Chinatown. They were chopping them up, and they were chopping them down. It's an ancient Chinese art, and everybody knew their parts from a feint into a slip and kicking from the hip. Naruto appeared with an leg sweep that Kakashi jumped, and then Naruto jumped to match his jump, and they started trading punches. Then blurred out of sight again. Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those cats were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening, but they fought with expert timing. There was funky Billy Chin and little Sammy Chung. He said, here comes the big boss. Let's get it on. We took a bow and made a stand, started swinging with the hand. The sudden motion made me skip. Now we're into a brand new trip. Then they both appeared panting a little. Naruto changed stances to one Kakashi did not know and then charged Kakashi slow, but at the last second speeded up incredibly and kicked Kakashi once off the ground. Then he received a punch into the gut, sending him double over, only to receive 2 more punches, being lifted at least a foot higher each time. And then a kick to the side of the head, and they both blurred out of existence. Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those cats were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening, but they did it with expert timing. Repeat. Make sure you have expert timing. Kung fu fighting had to be fast as lightning. Finally, as the song ends, Kakashi and Naruto both appear, and Naruto turns to see Sasuke and Sakura standing there gaping and said, look in you pockets. Both seemed confused and reached into their pockets and found the bells. Naruto said, same time tomorrow, Kakashi. Kakashi just nodded and pulled his Haiate down before collapsing on the ground. Sasuke is at a loss for words, and Naruto goes through his songs and starts walking away, and Sasuke said, fight me. Naruto smirked and hit play and said fine and got into another fighting stance, and the music started playing. As they got into a fighting stance, the music said, fight for you right. Fight for you life. Mortal Kombat, and both Naruto and Sasuke charged, and in one punch Sasuke was on the ground, and Naruto said flawless victory. And walked over, picking Kakashi up and flame Shushin to the hospital. Sakura went over to Sasuke crying, but then a female voice said, kiss him. Sakura looked around because it's not her inner self, but did not see anyone. She said, who's there? The sweet voice said, I am your guardian angel. I gave Naruto the ability to beat Sasuke so you can have your way with him while he is asleep. Now kiss him. Sakura said no. The voice said fine. I guess I will go and be Ino's guardian instead and help her get Sasuke. Sakura screamed, wait. I will do it. The voice said, good. Do it. And Sakura slowly bent down and kissed the Uchiha. The voice said, now as payment for this you must be friends with Naruto and not hate him for hitting Sasuke, or you will never be able to do this or anything else again. Understand? Sakura stuttered yes. The voice said, good. I will keep watch, and if you disobey me I will know. Remember. Practice every chance you can when Sasuke is out, so when you finally kisses you awake you will know it's true love. Also, never be mean to your other teammate. He will save your life once. Sakura nodded and said, anything else? She only heard silence. At the hospital, a certain blonde was chuckling to himself as he walked out the hospital, getting the info from his Kage Bunshin Naruto, his sexy no jutsu self. Once he made it outside, he looked through the songs on his pod one more time, finding the song he was looking for. He jumped up on the roofs and makes his way to the Hokage monument and hits play, listening to the song as he stands looking over the village, and the music starts to play. I'm so high. I can hear heaven, I'm so high. I can hear heaven. Oh, but heaven no heaven don't hear me. And they say that a hero could save us. I'm not gonna stand here and wait. I'll hold on to the wings of the eagles, watch as we all fly away. Someone told me that love would all save us, but how can that be? Look what love gave us, a world full of killing and blood spilling. That world never came. And they say that a hero could save us. I'm not gonna stand here and wait. I'll hold on to the wings of the eagles, watch as we all fly away. Hi. Now that the world isn't ending its love that I'm sending to you, it isn't the love of a hero, and that's why I fear it won't do. And they say that a hero could save us. I'm not gonna stand here and wait. I'll hold to the wings of the eagles, watch as we all fly away. And they're watching us, they're watching us as we all fly away. And they're watching us, they're watching us as we all fly away, yeah. And they're watching us, they're watching us as we all fly away, yeah. Whoa. As the music ended, Naruto had his eyes closed and said, "Watch me, Dad and Kyuubi. I will protect this village and everyone in it." And he let the wind blow over him and silently stood there enjoying the peace. Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, and an Umbu landed behind him and said, "The council wishes to see you, demon." Naruto nodded and flamed Shushin away, scarring the Umbu. When Naruto arrived, he was greeted by the Hokage and his two main advisors, as well as the entire council. Naruto was still in just his boxers, making most of the council furious. Naruto looked at them and smirked and sighed. "So what does the illustrious council of Konoha wish to see me for? I was enjoying my time on my lands this morning." Danzo said, "Shut up, boy. We are here to discuss your disturbing the village this morning and your punishment." Naruto dropped all restrictions he had on his power and flashed his ki, which combined with the backlash was enough to scare the entire council. Naruto said, channeling his demonic chakra into his voice, "Before any of you pissants try anything this morning, you will listen to me. I am not the same Naruto Uzumaki you all pushed around as a child. In fact, my name is not even Uzumaki. It's Kazama, just like my father Arashir Kazama the Yandame. Second, the effects of that genjutsu were felt only on lands I own based on the laws of Konoha. Third, I am also the grandson of Tsunade, who is the granddaughter of the first Hokage and the grandniece of the second Hokage. Seeing as she is not in this village right now, I am the current clan head of both her family and the Kazama family that adopted my father when he was placed in an orphanage for his protection. Based on that fact, I also have multiple council seats in this council. If you would look at the charter of this village, you would discover I also own everything from the South Gate to the Academy to the Hokage Monument as it was written in the village charter. Now that I really pissed you off, I have one last thing before I release you all. You know why I was chosen to stop the Nine Tails. It's not just because my father could not ask another family to give their child. No, it's because I was the only one who could contain it. Why, you ask? This. And Naruto slammed his hand against the ground, causing a tree to burst through the council chamber floor and right through the roof of the building. Naruto then released the ki and put his power restrictors back on and smirked, seeing the scarred look on everyone's face. Naruto said, "So what do you want to see me about?" "Well, I will let you all think about what I said. Have fun, pissants." And he flamed Shushin away. Chapter 8. Now those who knew of Naruto being from the future were surprised when he took this course of action. Not only had he told the council basically to kiss his ass, his power spike was enough that it scared the shit out of everyone in the entire village, being so massive. Naruto was still pissed off after he went to walking through the streets of Konoha. Everyone seemed to be giving him wide berth of walkway. Naruto saw a figure walking toward him pissed and said, "Gaki, what the hell was that about? Not only do you piss off the entire village, but you get into a pissing contest with the council, scaring the shit out of everyone in the village." Naruto ignored her and kept walking. She looked at him and said, "What, no answer? Too good to talk to a friend. Here, I thought you wanted to be special." Naruto stopped in his tracks and said, "Trust Anko." Anko stopped and looked confused and said, "What?" Naruto said, "I said trust. Do you know how hard it is to live a life where the people you want to be close to don't trust you? It's not bad enough my father had to curse me, but even after I tell the truth to those I trust and I expect the same thing from them, but I no matter what I am never trusted." Anko looked at him and said, "You are an idiot. Of course no one is going to trust you. You're a ninja. We make our living out of deception, idiot. You know, for someone who lived as much as you say you have, you can be naive. Naruto looked at the sky and said, you know the last thing Kyuubi told me before he died, Anko? Anko said, what, Gaki? Naruto said he told me that I should never deny who I am. To do that would be betraying myself. You know what the sad thing is? I never had a chance to know who I am. I have always been what everyone already thinks I am. A monster, a demon, an idiot, a weakling, a dead last, and a failure. I have had to fight for every ounce of respect I ever had. Do you have any idea what it's like to wait for the people you trust to stab you in the back? Anko stood there quietly and said, yeah, kid, I do. But I also know something you seem to have forgot. Respect is earned, not given. Naruto looked at her and sighed, closing his eyes, and said, I'm tired, Anko. Truth is, I don't know what I truly want to accomplish. Anko looked at him and said, what makes you happy? Naruto was quiet for a moment and said, having someone talk to me as an equal without looking at me with hate. Enjoying a meal with someone and not worry if I have been poisoned. To have the one thing I never actually had. A family. That is what would make me happy. The feeling of not being alone anymore. Anko said, so why do you try so hard to show everyone how much of a badass you are and give them one more reason to hate you and stay away from you? Naruto looked at her for a moment and said, you're right. I already blew this one and probably will get the Leaf Village destroyed because of my damn pride and arrogance. Anko said, you're going to start over again. Aren't you? Naruto nodded and said, thank you. Anko said, what? Naruto said, I know what I need to do now, and blowing my stack at the council did help clear my head. I have dealt with those assholes enough and learned enough laws to really piss them off. I have wanted to do that so much it felt good. I do have one thing I have always wanted to do. Anko said, what's that? Naruto said, you like torture, right? Anko nodded her head slowly, and Naruto said, there's a certain guy I want to have a little fun with before I start over again. Anko said, what are you planning, Gaki? Naruto said, how would you like a little revenge on Orochimaru? Anko grinned and said, I like your style, Gaki. What do you have planned? Naruto said, meet me at the tower in the Forest of Death in 2 hours. Anko nodded and Naruto disappeared in a swirl of flames. 2 hours later, when Anko arrived at the tower in the Forest of Death, the sight that greeted her was not what she expected. The main battle arena had 2 trees growing out of the floor, and she saw a gray-haired kid with glasses being held to both trees by vines. Anko walked into the room and said, what the hell? Naruto walked over and threw a glass he was drinking against the wall, shattering it, and said, meet Kabuto, Orochimaru's right-hand man. Kabuto said, I don't know what he is talking about. I have never met Orochimaru before. I was on my way to the hospital to work and he appeared out of nowhere and brought me here. Help! Naruto said, Anko, he says he never met Orochimaru before, but check his neck. Kabuto paled as Anko walked over and saw a curse seal, and she said, never met him, huh? Okay, Gaki. You got my interest. What do you plan to do? Naruto said, well, Kabuto here has a healing ability almost as good as mine. I was thinking we could play a little game. First one to leave a permanent scar on him wins the right to move on to the next form of torture. Anko smirked and said, I like you style, Gaki. And pulled out a kunai. Naruto smirked and also pulled out a kunai. The next 6 hours' screams could be heard coming from the Forest of Death, but since everyone avoided it, no one heard them. After it was over and Anko said, I can't believe you did that. Naruto smirked and said, me, I just carved our names into his back. You removed his manhood. Anko said, well, we did learn that was the one thing he could not grow back. Naruto nodded and said, I know what you mean. You pulled out his nails. I broke his knuckles. You removed them. I shattered his arms. You filled his muscles with venom. I broke his ankles. You removed teeth. Anko said, at least I like the way you finished him off. 100 exploding tags wrapped around a kunai that you used the 1,000 years of death with. Naruto smiled and said, at least we found out a little info about Orochimaru I can use. Anko sighed and said, so when are you going back to start over again, Gaki? Naruto's smile faded and said, soon. I already used the only poison that can kill me and put it in my body before we started. I did not want to ask anyone to kill me to go back. It should finish me soon. Anko nodded and said, so what do you plan to do when you go back? Naruto said, I think I will work behind the scenes again. Secretly get strong again. I don't know if I will do the disappearing act again though. Even though I traveled some, it was lonely. Anko said, so what about your clan? Naruto said, I only know 3 women I would like to have in my life. Sensei Haim, Temari-chan, and you, but I don't know how to get all 3 of you and do what needs to be done. I don't want to live without all 3 of you though. You each have a quality that is unique to you that makes my life more complete. Anko said, you seem to know how to get Kurenai and that Temari girl. I think the only one who you don't really know how to get is me, huh? Naruto nodded and said, Temari is an easy one to get. All I have to do is either arrange a marriage with her father or help Gaara, but I hate going through the old man to do it. Once I actually meet her, it is easy to get her to like me because I don't use her to get to her father or as a plaything. I see her as a person and let her know. Kurenai is harder to get because guys are always trying to seduce her for her looks, but if I show her how special she is to me, I can do it. Also, the fact I am interested in the real her helps. You, the only thing I really have to impress you is my drive to kill the Heba team. I know you have a mask up to keep people from getting close, and even with my lifetimes, I never could get really close to share the pain I see in myself also. Anko nodded and sat a moment and said, when you go back, there's 3 things you could do to impress me. Naruto looked at her surprised, and she said, first send me some white roses. They're my favorite, but don't tell who they are from. The second thing will be harder for you to do, but I have faith in you. When Orochimaru took me as an apprentice, I had a locket with a picture of my parents and me. He took it and threw it into the chasm by the hot springs on the west side of town. I figure with your bloodline you might be able to get down there and return it to me. Naruto nodded and said, what's the third thing? Anko closed her eyes and said, do you know my middle name? Naruto shook his head. No. Anko said, it's Sarah. Nobody knows it except you now. Not even Orochimaru. When you send me the flowers and the locket, call me Saraheim. Nobody has called me that since I was 5 when my parents died. Don't reveal who you really are to me until you're this age again though, so I will take you serious. You can tell me about yourself in letters and stuff, but don't tell your age and treat me special. Also put a code word that only you and I will know in case someone were to get the letters instead of me or something. Naruto started to cough a little blood now as the poison was finishing what it was to do. Anko looked at him sadly with a tear in her eye and said, one more thing, Gaki. Explain to me in your letters the truth of who you are, but not enough for me to figure out, and tell me about how you are the last of your clan, but make sure I know you are not an Uchiha. Also tell me about Kurenai, and if you get the sand girl also, so I don't think you're cheating. Tell Kurenai also so we can both get used to each other. And I want you to know I do like you. I have ever since our fight back a few years ago, even though I did not know who you were. Naruto smiled at her and felt his eyes slowly closing. The last thing he felt before he died was a few tears hit his cheek and a soft kiss on his lips. Naruto blinked as he opened his eyes, looking at a roof that he truly hated, and said, this time I am doing it for myself. Not for the village, not for the old man. This time I am doing it for myself, and I will also find myself. And with a new conviction he got out of bed and looked out the window and smiled a true smile and said, today the real Naruto Uzumaki Kazama shall be born. Naruto, after getting dressed for the day, he went and saved that same idiot who was about to be killed by a falling plant and sighed as he made his way to the Hokage's office. Naruto ignored everyone who tried to stop his as he walked right to the door. 2 Umbu who were standing at the door went to draw a weapon, and Naruto never looked at them and said, if you value your lives you will let me see the Hokage. As he walked past the 2 stunned guards who never dreamed a 5-year-old kid would say that. By the time they recovered enough to move, they fell to the ground as a pressure point was hit on each of their necks. Naruto walked into the Hokage's office, ignoring the questioning look the Hokage was giving him. Naruto walked right to the picture of the yondaime and bit his thumb and smeared blood on it, shocking the 3rd Hokage. He reached and pulled out a scroll, tossing it to the 3rd, and said, long story short, I know who I really am, and I know why you did what you did. I respect you for that, old man, but I am tired of being the village's plague. I got things to do, and you can do what you want. I don't want it known who my father is yet, so don't tell anyone. My name is Naruto Uzumaki Kazama. I don't really care if most of this village thinks I'm QB or not, but I will be taking my family name when I'm ready. I will be around sometime. Don't be surprised if you can't find me or I go missing for a week or two. I will be back. By the way, use Kage Bunshins to do your paperwork." And he turned to walk out. The third screamed, "Wait." After getting over the shock of little 5-year-old Naruto come in and tell he knew the secret that only he knew and opening a safe that he did not know about, but Naruto kept on walking, he hinged into Asuma and went to the ally to meet Kurenai again. Meanwhile, back inside the Hokage Tower, the third opened the scroll Naruto tossed him, and it did in fact state Naruto was Erasher's son, but what surprised him is when he saw Erasher's true mother was listed. He sighed, not knowing what to do. He quickly called for Umbu to get some people for him. When Kurenai went to kiss Asuma, kissed her back more passionately than ever and pressed the pressure point on her neck to send her into pleasure. She moaned at this, and Naruto broke the kiss and said, "Sensei Haim, I am not Asuma. This is a henge. I won't tell you who I really am yet because you will be surprised when you find out who I am. I will tell you this. I am younger than you, but to me age is meaningless. I have admired you from a distance, but not because of your beauty, but for your compassion and caring nature. When the time comes, I will reveal the real me. Until then, goodbye, Sensei Haim." And he flamed Shushin away, leaving a shocked Kurenai. Naruto appeared inside the Forest of Death, and having already activated his bloodline, he began rebuilding his home. Having done it before and knowing what to do, he was able to finish most of it within a few hours. His new home was basically a 2-story house, but did not have any windows or inside walls. It was just a big house with 2 floors and the outside walls and roof. The finer things like furniture, electric, water, sewer, among other things, would take time, but for now the basic house was built. It took most of his chakra to do this. His demon chakra helped, but he would have to begin retraining his body. He sighed as he ate the fish he had a clone catch and cook. Naruto walked into his new home and said, "This is going to be fun," and opened a dimensional portal and pulled a scroll out of it and unsealed a bed. He then got out some paintbrush and ink and got to work on some seal. After he was done, he laid down on the bed and said, "Thank God Kyuubi taught me how to put stuff in dimensional pockets. No matter when I am in time, I can get stuff in or out of it. It helps not having to rebuy stuff. Oh well. This is going to be a fun week." And went to bed, not even concerned that the third Hokage had 10 of his most trusted people out looking for Naruto. Naruto woke early the next day. Quickly getting ready for the day, he went and wrote out a scroll and sealed it and left Shushin back to the Hokage Tower, shocking many of the ninja who were there to get their mission. Naruto walked up to the mission door office and said, "I request a mission." The third said, "Naruto, you're not a ninja, so you can't ask for a mission. Also, I would like to talk to you in private." Naruto said, "You misunderstand me, Hokage-sama. I do not want a mission. I wish to commission a mission." The Hokage blinked and said, "And what would that mission be?" Naruto said, "I wish to pay for 2 S-class missions. I also request for the mission to be carried out by the same person." The Hokage said, "S-class mission, you say? You know they are expensive, Naruto. I also would like to know what the missions are." Everyone in the room was listening in, and Naruto said they are both delivery missions. One is to Jiraiya of the Sannin, and the other is to the Kazekage of Suna. The third scroll here is for Kakashi alone to read. The third blinked and said, "Would you mind explaining to me why you want that?" Naruto said, "All you need to know is that I want both missions carried out by Hatake Kakashi, and that if either of my scrolls are opened besides the intended person, the repercussions will be severe. Also, he must wait until he receives an answer to both scrolls. As for the pay here," throwing a scroll on the table, "there is $2 million in that scroll. Now do you accept my missions, or do I take my money and mission elsewhere?" Naruto said, ignoring the looks everyone was giving him. The Hokage was shocked and saw every one of the ninja in the mission room looking at him to see what he was going to do. The third said, "Very well. I will accept your mission. I still wish to." He was cut off by Naruto Leaf shushing away, shocking everyone again. Naruto appeared back at his home and began the task of rebuilding his home. The Hokage sighed and looked in the scroll and indeed did find the amount Naruto said. A Chunin said, "Hokage-sama, what was that all about, and how did that boy use a Shushin that only Chunin or higher know?" The Hokage looked up and said, "Mizuki, I don't have to answer your questions now. I have things to do, so get back in line to wait for your mission." Mizuki nodded and got back in line, filling this for later. The Hokage looked at the 2 scrolls Naruto had given him and the mission money, trying to figure out what was going on. He continued handing out missions, and around noon he finally got to the last scroll. He decided he would not send them out until he got answers. The next day Naruto got ready for the day and brought out more scrolls with stuff he has for his home. He then created some Kage Bunshins to work on the house, and he hinged into his disguise of Erasure and started getting things he needed for his home. Food, bathroom supplies, things of that nature. Stuff you don't really want to stock up on. As he was walking through the village, he saw a group of villagers gathered outside his old apartment. Carefully, he slowly walked closer to listen to what the group was there for. "You mean the demon has not been here today? Where could he be? I heard he attacked the Hokage. I heard he used his demon power to attack some Umbu yesterday. I say we find and kill him." Naruto said, "Pardon me, friends. If you're talking about the blonde with whiskers, I saw him sneaking into the women's side of the hot springs on the west side of town now." The group, which was all men, screamed, "Let's get the demon," and charged for the hot spring. Naruto turned and saw a woman he was hoping to see standing on the corner of the street looking at him, and said, "You know, I should have you taken to the Hokage for doing that to the Gaki. The kid has a hard enough life without assholes making it tougher." Naruto said, "I would agree if I did not just set those idiots up to get the shit beat out of them. I happen to know that most of the Inuzukas visit the hot springs today, and they don't like perverts. Also, the kid does not live here anymore. He has a new home hidden away from most of the village." The woman said, "If what you say is true, then I like your style, Gaki. By the way, I know you don't really look like that. I can tell it's an advance hinge. Also, how do you know where the kid is now? The Hokage was looking for him yesterday, and no one could find him." Naruto nodded and landed against the wall and said, "I know where he is, but I respect his privacy." "You're right. This is an advance hinge that can't be dispelled by anyone but me, and even a Sharingan can't see through it. I have my reason for doing this, but you don't need to worry about that. I will tell you I am not an enemy of the leaf." Anko walked over to him and said, "You know I have to take you in since you're not allowed to be in a henge in this village without permission from the Hokage, and since I don't know who you are, Gaki, I can't trust your words." Naruto nodded and said, "I understand, but I won't be going this time. Take care, Saraheim." And he flamed Shushin away, leaving a very shocked Anko. Naruto arrived at his home and saw his Kage Bunshins have been making great progress on his home. He sighed and sat down and said, "I'm glad chakra control is based on how smart you are. If I did not have such good control from everything, I would never be able to henge and Shushin like this. Even Kage Bunshins and my bloodline are draining. I need to get my reserve back up quickly." He looked at the stuff he had bought and the stuff still needing to be put in place or built. The kitchen was nearly ready. The bathroom was done, and all seals for both rooms were finished. The seals to provide electricity and water to the house had been done, so basic necessities were done. The next day Naruto went into town disguised as Erasure again and walked into the Yamenko flower shop. A man with blonde hair Naruto recognized as Ino's dad said, "Welcome to the Yamenko flower shop. How can I help you today?" Naruto said, "I would like to have some flowers ordered and delivered." The man nodded and said, "Can I ask why you're in a henge?" Naruto said, "It's because the ladies that I want to send the flowers to do not know it is me that is sending them, and I want to get both their attentions before I reveal who I really am." Inoichi said, "I understand, but you know the Hokage has already sent word to all Jounins in the village to capture you, right?" Naruto said, "I figured he would, considering I display skills no one in the village has seen before. I'm not going to cause any trouble, but I would like to order my flowers before we get to official business." Inoichi said, "You know I can't do that." Naruto sighed and said, "If I can give you some proof I am a member of the Leaf Village, would you let me get my flowers and leave saying I escaped?" Inoichi said, "Why would I do that?" Naruto walked over to a set of flowers and said, "Growth." And the flowers grew dramatically. Naruto turned and said, "I am the great-great-grandson of the Shodame Hokage. I am also the last of my clan that can carry on my family line. I don't want the people of this village to know who I am because the village has lost my respect. I won't reveal who I really am until my grandmother and grandfather arrive. I am not hostile to the village because if I were, the village would not be standing. Catch." And he threw a scroll flame Shushin away, leaving a shocked Inoichi who thought it was an attack but instead was a scroll. He looked around the shop and opened the scroll and was surprised by what was inside. It was an order for white roses and jasmines, but what surprised him even more was the note to the Hokage and who the flowers were for, as well as the payment. He quickly closed the shop and went to the Hokage's office. When he got there, he saw the third was at his desk and said, "Pardon the interruption, Hokage-sama." The third looked up and said, "What is it, Inoichi?" Inoichi said, "The gentleman you asked everyone to be on the lookout for came to my shop a little while ago." The third nodded, and Inoichi said he wanted some flowers ordered and all, and he showed and told me something before escaping I think you should know. He claims he is the great-great-grandson of the Shodaime Hokage, and from the display of manipulating plants, I say it's a good chance. He also said he is not a threat to the village, but said that we have lost his respect. He said he won't reveal who he is until his grandfather and grandmother arrive. The third looked at the scrolls on his desk and said, "I see. I believe I know who he is now. If he is who I think he is, then I know why he is in Henge." Did he say anything else? Inoichi said he was not hostile to the village, because if he was it would not be standing. He said he was the last one who could carry on his family line. The third closed his eyes and said, "Who were the flowers for?" Inoichi said, "Actually, that surprised me the most. Kurenai and Anko." He said he was in Henge because he was not ready to reveal who he was yet to either of them. The third coughed and sat up at his desk and said, "Thank you, Inoichi. Go ahead and fill the orders if he paid and any further orders. Don't worry about stopping him for now. If I am correct who he is, then I believe what he said is true. Also, don't tell anyone about him being the first descendant." Inoichi nodded and left, and the third sighed before sending a message for Kakashi. An hour later, Kakashi arrived at the Hokage office and said, "You asked to see me, Hokage-sama." The third nodded and said, "I have a mission for you." Kakashi said, "Does this have anything to do with Naruto?" The third said, "Yes. I assume you heard he requested a mission earlier this week." Kakashi nodded behind his umbu mask and said, "I don't know how he knows me, though." The third said, "Neither do I, but he left a scroll for you to read." And he handed it to Kakashi. Kakashi opened it and began to read, and after a few moments said, "You have some explaining to do." Dropping all pretenses of respect. The third blinked and said, "Let me guess. He told you who he really is." Kakashi said, "Among other things." "Why did you not tell me?" The third said, "I did it for his best interest." Kakashi slammed his fist into the table and said, "His best interest bullshit. I have seen what he has been through, and his best interest was thrown to the side the moment you changed his name." The third sighed and said, "I admit I made some mistakes in dealing with him. I did the only thing I could think of to save his life." Kakashi sighed and said, "Give me the scrolls, I will take the missions." The third said, "What exactly are they, Kakashi?" Kakashi sighed and said, "I don't know. It just told me who he is and that he needs those scrolls delivered and wait for a response to both. He said I would be the only one Jiraiya would halfway listen to, and he does not want too many people to know who he is yet. He also said I won't be able to find him because he has built a home somewhere only one person besides himself goes." The third sighed and said, "I wish you would tell me what's going on." Kakashi blinked and said, "You did not tell him who he was, did you?" The third said, "He walked into my office this week after knocking out my 2 guards and opened a safe I knew nothing about that I assume his father installed, and then said he knew who he was and knew why I did what I did, but said he was not going to be this village's plague anymore and walked out after giving me a scroll from his father. I don't know how he found out because I thought I was the only one who knew." Kakashi said, "Perhaps he will tell you if you see him. I got some missions I need to do so I can get back and talk to him." The third nodded and said, "You don't happen to know if he has ever met Anko or Kurenai before, do you?" Kakashi looked confused and said, "No, why?" The third said, "Oh, nothing. I just was wondering because someone ordered some flowers for both of them and I thought it might have been him. I guess I have been reading too many of Jiraiya's books." Kakashi nodded and said, "I should be back in a month. Naruto gave me a list of places to look for Jiraiya. I wonder how he knows him." The third said, "He doesn't as far as I know. Perhaps his dad left instructions for him to meet Jiraiya or something." Kakashi nodded and left, leaving a confused Hokage. Kurenai had just arrived at a dango stand with her friend Anko when Inoichi walks up and said, "Well, I don't know how, but you both seem to have attracted an admirer of sorts." Both Kurenai and Anko looked up and said, "Huh." Inoichi pulls out 2 different flower arrangements and handed them to the ladies. Anko said, I wonder what some gaki is trying to pull, as she took the flowers and sat them on the table acting like she did not care, but took the scroll and began to read. Kurenai also took her flowers but smelled them and then took the scroll attached and read it and blushed as she read it. Inoichi said, so what's he say? Kurenai looked up from the scroll and said, you actually met him. What does he look like? Anko seemed to be listening in, and Inoichi said, truthfully, I don't know. He matches the description Anko gave for the guy in the henge. He still had it on and managed to escape before I could take him in. Anko growled and said, I'm going to kill the gaki. Kurenai said, what does he say to you? Anko said, he just tried to tell me he wants to become something special in his life, and he is the heir to a forgotten clan, and he has been watching me for a while and wants to show his feelings for me. He also says that he has also gotten to like you and one other from another village he is hoping to get to know and perhaps have a relationship with. Sound like a pervert to me. Kurenai said, you think it might be Kakashi? He is a pervert. Inoichi said, I can guarantee it's not Kakashi. Both women looked at him and said, how can you be sure? Inoichi looked around and said, simple, Kakashi can't control plants. Both women blinked and said, huh. Inoichi said he claimed he is related to the 1st Hokage, and the third said he thinks he knows who he is, but won't tell me who, but you did not hear that from me. Both women nodded, and Inoichi said, well, I got to get back to my shop. I will be glad when Ino is old enough so I don't have to close shop. After he left, Kurenai looked at Anko and said, what do you think? Anko said, whoever he is has a date with my snakes. Kurenai snorted and said, I can't believe I did not recognize he had a henge on when he looked like a Suma. Anko said, you think it might be him? Kurenai said, not if what Inoichi said is true. Do you think he is a descendant of the first? Anko said, I don't know, but I have another question on my mind. Kurenai said, and that would be? Anko said, he called me something nobody but my parents have ever called me. I want to know how he found out. Kurenai nodded and said, what do you think of the flowers? Somehow he knew. My favorites. Anko said, I don't like flowers, so I don't have a preference. Looking around, lying. Kurenai said, so if he asked you out, you're going to go? Anko said, please. Gaki would have to do better than a few weeds to impress me. Kurenai said, I might, just to find out why he would flirt so openly like this. Anko sighed and said, I got to go. Ibiki said he wants me to work on some new intimidation stuff. Kurenai nodded and said, take care, and if you hear from him, let me know. Anko nodded and said, if Gaki's smart, he would avoid me unless he wants to die. And left. Kurenai did, also walking by a man with blonde hair and black eyes reading a book on her way out. The owner walked over and the man said, hi buddy. I heard from a friend of mine that this is the best dango shop in all of Konoha. The owner said, whoever your friend is must have great taste, as it's true. The blonde said, name's Erashir, and I am a businessman of sorts. I travel a lot and have some unique taste, and I was wondering if you might be interested in a sort of business deal. The owner said, not really, but I will listen since no one else is here right now. By the way, the name is Leo. Erashir smiled and said, nice to meet you, Leo, and I think you might like my offer. I don't really want to do anything to change your restaurant except pay in advance for a few items to be in stock, so when I am in town, I can have it. My offer is 100,000 a year if you would just carry 6 items. 3 different fruit and 3 wines, that's it. I like to relax with dango fruit and wine, but it's hard to find these items in villages this far away from Cloud. Leo said, well, we don't really have trade routes with Cloud, so I don't think it's possible even though you have a great deal. Erashir said, that's not a problem. Even though the wine I want is common in Cloud, it is not made there. In fact, I have a supplier who can deliver them. I just want to make a contact here to supply it since I am planning on spending a lot more time in the Leaf Village. Leo looked at him and said, well, that doesn't sound too bad, but the 100,000 a year you cost me if I have to store the items for any period of time. Erashir said, I understand, perhaps I can make it better for you. Every year for 4 years you go with keeping the item in stock, I will give you a bonus at the end of the 4th year of 200,000 for any inconvenience. Leo seemed to be in thought and said, deal. How long would it take to set up the supply line? Erashir said, I should have it set up within 2 months. Leo nodded and said, sounds good, partner. Erashir said, partner. Well, if you insist. Leo said, yeep. I was actually in a little financial problem since my regular suppliers sold out last month. Arisher nodded and said, well, it's getting late. I will draw up the contract and bring it by later this week. Good night. And he got up and finished his drink, walking off. After he made it outside, he walked toward a side street and then down an alley and stopped and said, your detection skills are getting better, Sensei Haim. A genjutsu dropped, revealing Kurenai at the end of the alley, and said, yours are also good. So tell me, when will I actually get to see the real you? Arisher said, someday, but I want to prove to you and Anko I am not just some pervert or stalker. As far as what I was doing back there was a coincidence that you were there. Isn't that right, Saraheim? Turning his head slightly to Anko at the other end of the alley. Anko said, Sogaki. What do you plan to do? Arisher changed tinge to brown hair and blue eyes and said, well, to answer that, I have figured out a few things and I plan to do them to impress you both. I can't wait for you to meet the real me, but for now I will just leave a parting gift. Pulls something out of his pocket and sets it on the ground and disappears in a swirl of flames. Anko looked at Kurenai and said, how does he do that? Kurenai said, I don't know. Walks over and picks up what he left. Anko walks over and gasps. Kurenai looked at Anko and sees her slowly reaching for the item. As she touches it, a single tear escapes her eyes. Kurenai asked, are you okay, Anko? Anko just nods and said, my mother's locket. Orochimaru threw it into a chasm on the other side of town. Even with all my skills now, I could not get to the bottom to get it. As she holds the locket close to her heart, Kurenai smiles a small smile as Anko opens it and shows the picture of Anko as a little girl with her parent. They both stand there in silence for a few minutes and Anko whispers, thank you, before they part for the evening. On a rooftop a little ways away from the two, Arisher says, you're welcome, and flames Shushin home. Chapter 9. 4 days later at Suna, one Hatake Kakashi was standing in front of the Kazekage in his umbu uniform and said, thank you for seeing me, Kazekage-sama. The Kazekage said, of course, umbu. So what do I owe the pleasure of your visit? Has something happened that the Hokage needs to draw to my attention? Kakashi said, honestly, I don't know. I was given a mission to deliver a scroll to you and wait for a response. As he holds out a scroll, the Kazekage looked at it and said, very well. And he takes the scroll, opening it, and begins reading it. After a few moments he puts the scroll down and looked at it a few minutes and said, I will arrive at that time to allow a meeting. Correspondence will be allowed and I accept the gift he has given. I will also not mention it to anyone besides my family. Tell him that I agree to his stipulations. Kakashi nodded and said, I will tell him when I see him. Kakashi started to leave and the Kazekage said, you don't know what delivered to you. Kakashi stopped and turned and said, no, Kazekage-sama. The Kazekage said, tell me, umbu. Do you know this Kazama? Kakashi stiffened and said, a little, sir. My duties keep me away from the village mostly. The Kazekage nodded and said, do you know if he is a good person? Kakashi blinked behind his mask and said, I believe so. The Kazekage said, good. Dismiss and safe journey. Kakashi nodded and left, heading for his next destination. Back in Konoha the next day, Anko was walking through the forest of death holding the locket she received earlier this week when she felt some chakra coming from inside the forest. Deciding to investigate, she quickly used her stealth to travel deep into the forest to the side farthest from the village, but also the most dangerous. She followed the chakra source for about half an hour, and when she arrived at an area she felt the source from, she was shocked because of the sight that greeted her. Over 500 Kage Bunshins were water walking and running up and down trees. She recognized the Kage Bunshins as the Kyuubi Kid. Suddenly she saw something fall into the clearing and destroy a couple of clones that were balancing on Kuniyas. She looked up and nearly had a heart attack. Sitting in the trees was a huge mansion. She made sure she was concealed and held her chakra as low as possible as she looked around. She watched and soon saw one of the clones that was different. She looked at it and watched as 25 new Kage Bunshins appeared around that one. She then watched as the 25 clones changed into different people and take up different fighting stances. She saw one of herself in the group and became confused as she watched herself get into the serpent stance. The one she noticed was different before got into a fighting stance she did not recognize, and then the 25 clones that were people she knew or did not know began to fight. The battle was deadly. The techniques she saw them use was something she never would have expected. The one of Asuma used trench knives and even had a wind affinity. The one of Kakashi surprised her the most as it used Chidori. Kurenai used the Treebind of Death. Hyatt used the Crescent Moon style of sword fighting. Her clone used the Hidden Snake Hand. She watched the battle as each and every move was countered by the Naruto she assumed now was the real one. She then got a surprise that she would never have dreamed. The kid used the fourth prize Jutsu Rasengan and Iteration. Even though she had never actually seen them, she had read enough about them to know that's what they were. She watched as some of the weaker fighters were taken out. The guy clone and a mini version of him she could have sworn opened the gates. The kid was receiving wounds, but kept on fighting. A clone of Itachi said something that made Anko puzzled. I will kill you, Kyuubi, just like I killed my clan. Soon the 25 clones that had started were down to 2. Anko looked at the 2 and were surprised by who they were. What happened next made her blood run cold. The 2 clones that were standing there were Tsunade and Jiraiya. Another clone appeared, and this time Orochimaru stood there. She listened as his clone began to speak. Kukukukup Naruto Kun. I see you are still too weak to kill me. How can you hope to protect the women you love from me? Naruto looked at him and his eyes changed red and said, I will kill you, Orochimaru. I will do it for all the people's lives you have ruined and are planning on ruin. But most of all, I will stop you for Saraheim. And Naruto suddenly jumped onto a tree branch and grabbed the tree branch, causing it to attack Orochimaru. Anko, who saw all of this, was frozen in place. She then heard the other 2 Sannin clones speak. Naruto, why do you fight for a village that curses the day you were born? Tsunade said. Jiraiya said, come on, kid. Do you really think with everything you do you will ever find happiness in this village? Naruto said, shut up, grandfather. I heard it from you before. And you, grandmother. First putting dad up for adoption just to keep from upsetting the Hokage. Please, you claim it was for his protection, but I know the truth. Then never telling him who you were. I lived most of my lives alone, and that pain is impossible to understand. The loneliness of not knowing if you even had a family, and then find out one is out writing books and the other gambles and drinks. I swear when I restore my clan I will not only love my wives, but my children. And he charged all 3 Sannins, attacking each as they used their individual skills. Anko's breath was caught in her throat as she watched him stand toe-to-toe with the Sannins. She gasped when she saw her former master use a ceiling on his stomach. What happened next would forever be in her memory. Naruto slowly stood up and looked at Orochimaru and said to late Orochimaru, you can't seal what's not there. Kyuubi's been dead for a long time now. Now join him. And Naruto flamed Shushin around the battlefield, attacking from different areas. Sadly, all of the Sannin still stood strong. Finally, Naruto fell to the ground face first. He rolled himself over but just laid there and passed out. Anko was about to jump down, but something she heard earlier made her stop. But most of all, I will stop you for Saraheim. She then thought of the flame Shushin attacks he used and the controlling the trees. This Gaku was the one who'd been flirting with her and Kurenai. She started to get angry at that until she heard him still on the ground speak. Am trying, Saraheim. You told me you liked white roses, and I already got your locket for you. I will get strong enough to protect you from him. At least I have not screwed this life yet. I hope everything works out. I'm getting tired of repeating lives. You still look beautiful to me. Sensei Haim also. I know the old man is already suspicious of me, but I don't care. He did not trust me before, so why should he trust me now? You always have such good advice, Saraheim. First you tell me to learn about all the women I would like to live my life with. I tried that and found 3 goddesses that I would be honored to grow old with. There's you and Sensei Haim, and then there's Temari Haim. It sucks being this young again. I have the body of an almost 6-year-old, but the mind of someone many years older. I gave up a long time ago keeping track. Well, I guess I better get started again. I will be glad to be a genin again so I can finally show you my true self. I hope you're safe and happy, my Haims. And he got up and started to walk toward a tree to get back to his house, only to pass out and all of his clones disappear. Anko stood in place where she was as she listened to him. She was thinking Kyuubi's dead. Grandfather, grandmother, repeating lives. What the hell is going on? Anko looked around and saw Naruto was still passed out and jumped out of her hiding spot and walked over, picking the kid up, and then tree climbing up to the mansion and walked inside and nearly dropped Naruto right then and there. The sight that greeted her was amazing. She looked around and saw a couch and put Naruto down on it. She then started to look around. She saw pictures of herself older than she is now with different people. She saw a picture of Tsunade and Jiraiya with some kid who looked like Naruto, and after seeing the whiskers she was sure was him. She saw the same thing with Kurenai with what looked like a Genin team. She soon found a similar picture of Naruto in an orange jumpsuit with a pink-haired girl and what looked like an Uchiha and Kakashi. Anko said, "Do you ever show your face, Kakashi, and what the hell is with the orange jumpsuit? It practically screams kill me." A voice from the couch said, "No, he doesn't, and the jumpsuit is all the stores will allow me to buy, Anko. They do, after all, want the Kyuubi brat to die." Anko turned and saw Naruto sitting up slowly. He turned to her looking down and said, "So how much did you see?" Anko looked at him and said, "Everything from the Battle Royal to the Sannin Fest, and I heard you afterwards." Naruto sighed and turned slowly and said, "I guess you got questions and want answers." Anko said, "You can say that, but I am not the only one." Naruto nodded and said, "Do you think you can find this place again?" Anko said, "Yeah, why?" Naruto sighed and said, "Tonight 7 o'clock. Bring Kurenai and the Hokage. Don't tell them what it's about, but make sure you're not followed. I will make dinner and answer everything." Anko said, "Why should I believe you, Gaki?" Naruto said, "I will remove your curse seal." Anko was stunned, and Naruto slowly got up and winced as he was still hurt from the spar and walked over to her and said, "Also, I always keep my promises. Even when they kill me." Anko seemed to think it over and said, "All right, Gaki. I will trust you for now." And she disappeared in a swirl of leaves. Naruto sighed and said, "Damn it. I was not ready for this." And began preparing for tonight. Anko arrived back inside the village and went to the Hokage office. When she arrived, she saw the Hokage sitting in his chair, but a man she recognized as Uchiha Itachi was standing there. Anko knocked and Itachi turned and said, "Hello, Anko. How are you today?" Anko said, "Fine." A flash of what the Itachi clone said made her nervous a little. If Naruto really did know the future as she suspected, then Itachi would kill the Uchiha clan. She filed that away for later. The Hokage said, "Itachi, I want you to see if you can find Naruto. You have the best chance with your tracking abilities." Anko said, "Actually, sir, that's what I came here to tell you. I saw him today, and he wants to talk to you later today." The third said, "Really, and where did you see him?" Anko remembered the Genin team picture of Naruto and saw the memorial stone, so she said, "I saw him on a training ground near the memorial stone, and he asked me to relay the message." The third nodded and said, "Never mind, Itachi. Thank you anyways." Itachi nodded and said, "Of course, Hokage-sama." And he left in a leaf shushin. Anko sighed, and the third said, "So why did you lie?" Anko said, "I really did meet him, but not where I said. I saw and heard some things today that has me questioning Itachi loyalty. That's why I lied." Naruto said he wanted you, me, and Kurenai at his mansion tonight at 7. The third blinked and said, "Mansion? What mansion?" Anko said he built a mansion inside the Forest of Death. The third chuckled and said, "No wonder we could not find him." Anko nodded and said, "There is something else." He said, "Kyuubi's dead and the seal's gone." The third paled and coughed at this and said, "Anything else?" Anko said, "I think the rest should wait until tonight. I would tell your family you won't be home till late because I think this is going to be a long night." The third nodded and said, "Why are you so open about this, Anko? You hardly trust anyone, and the fact you are basically putting all your faith in Naruto is something I have never seen before." Anko thought for a moment and said, "I seen that kid do something even I could not do." The third said, "And that is?" Anko said, "You will have to see for yourself." The third said, "Right. I will meet you at the tower at the Forest of Death at 6:30. Anko turned to leave and stopped and said, "I have a personal request, Hokage-sama." The third looked at her and motioned for her to continue. Anko said, "Don't tell anyone about where we are meeting or have anyone follow us. The kid seems like he's been betrayed more times than I have, and his trust is only so far." The third sighed and said, "I understand. Finding out what he did will do that." Anko nodded and left to find Kurenai. Anko found Kurenai at the hot springs. When she got there, she decided to relax also. After getting undressed, she went into the water and sat by Kurenai. Kurenai said, "I thought you would be training today." Anko said, "I was until I met our mutual friend today." Kurenai blinked and said, "Really? Did you find out anything?" Hana Inazuka the Jinin said, "Really, Kurenai and Anko? You both have a guy you both like. Who is he?" Kurenai said, "It's not like that. This guy is playing the whole mysterious person thing and has been flirting with both of us." Anko said he wants to meet us tonight at 7. The two other women besides Hana and the two Heims looked at them, and Hana said, "Really, so where does he plan to meet you?" Anko said, "I found his home and he is going to prepare dinner for us and tell us everything we want to know." Kurenai looked at Anko and said, "Exactly how did you find him, Anko?" Anko said, "I found him when he was destroying a training grounds. The Gaki could probably beat most of the village if he really wanted to." Kurenai sighed and said, "Learn anything new about him?" Anko smirked and said, "I saw what he really looks like." Kurenai sat straight up, shocking everyone, and said, "Tell me." Anko shook her head no and said, "I will tell you this. Don't let your first impression fool you." Kurenai sighed and said, "I hate your cryptic games." Anko said, "Meet me at my place at 6:15. Kurenai said, "But you said you wanted to see us at 7. Anko said, "You will find out why later." And got up to leave. Hana looked at Anko and said, "Are you going to tell us anything else?" Anko placed her hand on the locket and said, "Nope," and turned to leave. Kurenai sighed and Hana said, "Details." Kurenai cursed Anko and said, "All I really can tell you is that he says he has admired us both for some time and that he is a good kisser." Hana said, "And how do you know that?" Kurenai blushed and said, "I saw who I thought was a sumo walk into an ally and I went to flirt like we sometimes do. Turned out it was this mysterious guy in an advance hinge that can't be dispelled. Trust me, I tried. He has shown up in 3 different disguises and has sent us flowers and recovered that locket." Anko said, "Orochimaru threw into that ravine near here." Hana said, "Sounds like he is going all out to impress you both." Kurenai said, "Seems like it, though. I wonder why he really is hiding who he is." Hana said, "Perhaps it's someone who was too shy to tell you." Kurenai said, "Maybe." As she relaxed, thinking about later. Later that evening at 6:30, Anko and Kurenai arrived at the tower in the Forest of Death, and Kurenai said, "What are we doing here, Anko?" Anko said, "We are meeting his other guest." Kurenai said, "Who?" The third walked up from behind them and said, "That would be me." Kurenai said, "Hokage-sama." Surprised. He smiled at her and said, "Shall we, Anko?" Anko nodded and began leading them to Naruto's home. When the 3 arrived at the mansion, the sun was just setting and they could still see the place. Kurenai and the third were in awe by the place, and Anko was a little, but not as much as originally. The mansion was 2 stories tall and could probably hold 50 people comfortably. After they climbed the tree, they walked to the front door and it opened, and a man in a butler's suit was standing there. The third chuckled at this and said, "That has got to be the second best way to use Kage Bunshins I have ever seen." The butler said, "Of course, Hokage-sama. Paperwork is the best way." The third said, "Indeed, and thanks for the tip. Now might I inquire as to where our host is?" The butler said he will be down in moments and dinner will be ready shortly. He left orders to see if you needed any drinks and said to make yourself at home. The third nodded, and Anko said, "I think before he gets here you should look at his pictures in the living room. Might make what he says more believable." Kurenai and the third shot her a confused look and followed her into the living room. Looking around raised several questions for both the third and Kurenai. The butler returned a few minutes later and said, "Dinner is served and your host is waiting on you." They all nodded and followed the clone into a dining room, and 2 more butlers were there and pulled out the chairs for Anko and Kurenai. A voice from behind them said, "I'm glad you arrived safely, and I know you 3 have many questions. I promise you I won't lie about anything." And the 15-year-old version of Naruto arrived wearing a pair of black pants and a white dress shirt. The third looked at him and said, "Why are you still in a hinge, Naruto?" Naruto said, "I will explain that, but I would like to tell you my story." Kurenai said, "Naruto? As in Uzumaki Naruto?" Naruto sighed and said, "Yes and no, Sensei Haim." Kurenai said, "What do you mean?" Naruto said, "My real name is Naruto Kazama, and I am the son of Arashir Kazama, the Yandame Hokage. I am also the grandson of Tsunade and Jiraiya of the Senins." I may look like I am only 6 years old, but I am a lot older than that. The third said, what do you mean, Naruto? Naruto took a sip of wine and said, when I was dying from a Chidori from my teammate Sasuke Uchiha after he defected from the village to go to Orochimaru, the Shinigami came and was going to take me to the other side. Kyuubi would have been released because we had not merged enough to drag his soul to the other side. I was 13 at the time. Kyuubi made a deal with the Shinigami and he accepted it. I would be given one of the heavenly powers of the Phoenix and allowed to go back to the age of 5 and try to correct the mistakes that were made in my life by myself and others. Kyuubi gave me all of his power also as part of the deal. Each time I go back I keep all the knowledge I gain and I have tried many things to fix the mistakes. Everyone was stunned by this, and the third said, I find that hard to believe, Naruto, and also the fact of what you said about Kyuubi also is hard to believe. Naruto raised his shirt and channeled chakra and said, you and I both know, old man, that the Kyuubi seal would always show up even through a hinge, and as you can see I don't have it. It does not matter if you believe me or not. It's the truth. Anyways, I will answer some question, but certain things have to happen that can't be changed or all my knowledge is basically useless. Kurenai said, what do you mean? Naruto sighed and said, a tragedy will befall Konoha within a month and I could tell you who will do it and why, but it has to happen. I have tried every way to stop it, but it always either results in even more deaths or the entire city going into a civil war. Anyway, Sarheim, show me your curse seal. Anko nodded and pulled her shirt to the side a little, and the third said, what are you going to do, Naruto? Naruto walked behind her and said, removing it, and placed his hand over her curse seal and started to channel demon chakra into it, and Anko screamed out in pain, but the pain soon was replaced with pleasure as Naruto then hit the same pressure point he hit on Kurenai, and made Anko have pleasure like never imagined, and the seal burned away, only leaving a scar. Naruto walked over and sat down and said, I am sorry for tricking you, Sensei Heim and Sarheim, but if you would have known I was a kid you would have ignored me flat out on principle, and I wanted to try and show you both I do care about you. The third said, what was the 2 scrolls Kakashi went to deliver? Naruto snickered and said, one was to try and work things out with the third person I wrote to the lovely ladies here about as a possible relationship with. I said a potential political marriage and all, but I set it up where it's all her choice. The third nodded and said, do I need to worry about anything concerning this? Naruto said, you will receive scrolls from Suna that will need to be sent to me. Other than that, not until my age group's Chunin exams. The third said, and the other one? Naruto smiled and said, family reunion. Kurenai said, what do you mean? Naruto said, I want him to come train me, and we are going to look for Tsunade. I will be back in time for my age group graduation. The third said, you know I have to authorize that. Naruto said, actually you don't. I am a clan member and you can't interfere with clan business. Also, as one of the founding clans of Konoha, I have the right to leave the village anytime I please, so even if I were a ninja of the village, I could not be considered a missing nin, unless my clan said I was or I did so in an action that could be considered hostile. Also, I should state something. I own everything from the South Gate to the Hokage Mountain and all the way to the Academy as ordered by the charter of this village. That was the second reason I built my home here. The other is only skilled ninja could find it and make it to it. Kurenai said, what? Do you mean you own the entire village that way? Naruto said, yes. The laws of Konoha says any land that is assigned to a clan that was a founder of Konoha owns that land and can never be sold, given, or taken by the council citizens or Hokage. Even if someone puts homes or buildings on those lands, they own them also. My family, the family of the first, wanted the village to grow, so while other clans held their lands, mine allowed homesteaders to set up on our land to build the village. The only clan besides mine that is affected by this is the Hyuga and Uchiha. They own basically a triangle from where their 2 lands meet and end and go to the academy where they run into mine. The other clans have kept exactly what they were given. No more and no less. The third said, what do you plan to do about that, Naruto? Naruto said, absolutely nothing unless the village hurts my family or friends. The third sighed and said, thank you for not getting revenge. Naruto chuckled and Anko said, what? Naruto said, in my last life I did do something just for the hell of it. I placed a genjutsu on the Hokage mountain and had the Hokages lip-sync to some songs while I danced through the street in only my boxers and a pimp hat and came to him to sexy. I also beat Kakashi during our Genin test to the song Kung Fu Fighting, and then the council tried to kill me, so I basically told every single one of them off as only I could and even made Danzo, that fucking traitor, piss his pants. I never had so much fun. Ah well. Everyone imagined that, and Anko and Kurenai blushed a little, and the third chuckled and said, I wish I could have seen that, and what do you mean Danzo a traitor? Naruto sighed and said he supplies Orochimaru with information on individual ninja mission status, skill levels, teammates. I know he does it to the Rookie 9 and Guy's team. Before that I don't know. If I had not caught his son's side giving the info, I would never have believed it. Anyways, you should also know that the council can't kill, get rid of, or hurt me anymore, as I am the current clan head of my family, and I also have at least 4 different seats on the council. Kurenai said, what do you mean? Naruto said, all Hokage and descendants of Hokages have 1 seat given to them, so I have 3 from the 12th and 4th Hokage. As a founding clan, I also have 1 seat, and as the grandson of Jiraiya, as he is the last of his clan who has a permanent seat on the council. Now I know Tsunade will be Hokage, so her seat will be open, and until Jiraiya dies he will have his, so that means the other 4 are mine, and whoever I have as my wives, since I have a bloodline and also a clan. I have to have more than 1 wife. I found 3 that I hope someday to earn the right to marry, but my plans changed when Anko found me today. I will understand if either you Sensei Heim or Sarheim do not want me now that you know the truth, but I ask that I can write you while I am away, and at least let me earn your friendship. I will tell you this. I have never been past a kiss with any woman. I am saving myself for a true marriage, so you don't think I am just trying to get with you for that. And the pressure point I hit, I learned from Tsunade how to manipulate the massage points I learned in Cortesian classes. Kurenai blinked and said, what the hell, were you taking a kunoichi only class? Naruto smirked and said, sexy no jutsu. And he changed into a beautiful blonde hair woman in a dress and said, I have busted a few slave and prostitution rings before. In a silky female voice before turning back to his hinged male form. Kurenai blinked and Anko said, how exactly could you do that if it's just a hinge? Naruto smirked and said, do any of you know why you can't dispel my hengis? Kurenai said, I have actually wondered that. Naruto said, it's because of Kyuubi's influence on my body. Even though he's gone, I have his powers, so when I use the advanced hinge, I actually become what you see. My female version actually is completely female. Hormones and all. God, I hated periods. Everyone blinked and blinked again, and the third had to ask, does that mean you could become pregnant? Naruto said, Tsunade thought so when I volunteered to go in with Ino to bust a prostitution ring. She made take the classes and even taught me about protection and birth control. It gave me a new respect for women. Anko said, Gaki. Why the hell would you want to be female anyways? Naruto said, my first version was nude so I could knock out perverts. In fact, it was that technique that made me a genin in the first place. I was tricked by Mizuki to steal the Forbidden Scroll, and I knocked out the Hokage with it, and I learned Kage Bunshin in a few hours. I still have trouble with simple Bunshins because my reserves are so big. Nobody ever taught me chakra control excursus, so I never learned to control it until 2 months into me being a genin. The third said, how much of the scroll do you know? Naruto said, if you're worried about the sealing that Dad did, I know it, but as I am a seal master, also I have made my own seals that make it look like a simple exploding note. The third paled and Naruto said, I know 22 of the 23 techniques on it and can do 21 of them. I never did learn the bloodline sealer because if you do it to anyone after 1 year old, it kills them. I never learned it, so I would never be tempted to use it on Itachi or Sasuke. The one I learned but never tried to do was the sealing Dad did. So will you allow me a chance to write you both at least? Kurenai sat quietly and said, I will give you a chance for my friendship, but anything past that I won't promise anything. Anko said, you got my friendship, Gaki, when you got my locket. I do have one question though, does the tragedy you mentioned earlier have anything to do with Itachi? Everyone saw Naruto flinch and he said yes. The third said, what is going to happen? Naruto sighed and said, it can't be stopped, so don't try. Itachi will kill his best friend. 2 days later he wipes out the Uchiha clan, leaving one survivor besides himself. His little brother Sasuke. The third said, why would he do that? Naruto closed his eyes and said, do any of you know what the Manjikyu Sharingan is? Anko and Kurenai both shook their head no, but the third sighed and said, I see. Naruto said there are only 2 ways to get it and I only know 2 people who have gotten it. Each from a different way. The third said I thought there was only one way. Naruto said Kakashi finds another way, but I never learned how. The third said I should find a way to stop him. Naruto said you can't. It has to happen to save the rest of the village. The third looked at Naruto and said, what do you mean? Naruto said Itachi will leave the village and join a group of S-class missing neens that has already approached him offering membership into their organization. Nobody, and I mean nobody in this village, can currently stand up to the 2 of the members of them. The third said, how can you be sure, Naruto? Naruto said, how can you hope to stop the man that killed the first Hokage and also Uchiha Madara, the first Uchiha? Everyone stopped and eating the salad that was on the table and looked at Naruto. The third said, how can either of those 2 men still be alive? Naruto sighed and said Kakuzu has a bloodline ability that lets him live as long as he has a heart that still lives. He has 5 of them. If one dies, he can kill someone and replace his heart and gain their chakra affinity. In the future, Shikamaru killed 1 heart by tricking Kakuzu. Partner Kakashi killed 1 heart with a Chidori, and I killed 3 hearts with a Raisin Shuriken Jutsu, which is a Rasengan with wind manipulation added to it. Currently, I can't use it because it's too demanding on me. Uchiha Madara is another story altogether. You all know how the Uchiha were once Hyugas, right? Everyone nodded and Naruto said he was a branch house member that wanted to be free of them, so he ran, and as luck would unfortunately have it, he was the cause of my life being hell. Enko said, what do you mean? Naruto said when he ran he discovered Kyuubi's den. He offered Kyuubi a deal and Kyuubi altered his bloodline to give him the Sharingan, freeing him from the Hyuga family, but he was greedy also since he wanted to rub it in the face of the Hyugas. Guess what the deal was? Nobody answered, and Naruto said in exchange for the bloodline and the Manjikyu Sharingan. A way to overpower Hyugas, he would give 100 of his descendants to Kyuubi as payment. However, Kyuubi knew mortals did not live long lives, and he knew that Madara would die before the deal was made, so he cursed him and made him a half-demon. He would live up to 1,000 years to see that his clan repaid its debt. He was also given that long in case his clan died and he could start over. That's why Kyuubi attacked. He came to collect his debt. However, Madara has become insane and wants even more power. He has discovered a way to become a 10-tailed demon. The first ever. If he can capture the other 1 to 9-tailed demons, he will be able to become completely immortal. To do this, he created the organization Itachi will join. With Kyuubi dead, he can't do it, but he does not know that and gives me an advantage to stop him. The third said, so you are going to let Itachi go so you can stop him and this group later? Naruto said, yes. I told you I have had many lives. In all my lives I have never made it past the age of 18. Either the Leaf Village is destroyed in a never-ending civil war or in another great shinobi war. Itachi has to kill his clan, so Orochimaru will come during my Chunin exams after Sasuke. If I can take out Orochimaru, then a month later I can take out 2 more members of this group. One being Itachi. I can then pick the other 7 members off until I get to Madara and I can defeat him. The only way to kill him is to completely destroy every cell of his body. The third said, can you defeat him? Naruto said the last time events lead to us meeting it came out a draw. I hope I can change just enough to beat him this time. I opened 6 celestial gates and dropped all my gravity and chakra weights and also 5 tails of Kyuubi's chakra for 2 minutes. For that 2 minutes, killed him, but because my body was so damaged from it I would have lived my life as a cripple. I stopped my healing and let my body die so I could start over. The third sighed and said, can you tell us any more about what's going to happen? Naruto said, no, I would like to, but they would change things too much. That's why I am leaving the village, so I won't change things here too much. Let the Uchiha massacre play out and act normal until I return to take my Genin test. Just make sure you put me on the Genin team with Sasuke and Sakura under Kakashi. The third said, why should I listen to you or believe you for that matter? Naruto sighed and said, you told me this when I tried other stuff so you would listen. A monkey will climb higher to avoid a snake. Even with a frog and a snail's help he may not climb fast enough. A fox can kill the snake, but only with the strength of a snail, the agility of a frog, and the wisdom of a monkey. Everyone was looking at him and the third sighed and said, damn it. There is no way you could know that saying even if it is changed. Naruto blinked and Anko asked what was it changed from. The third said instead of a fox it was a mongoose that could kill a snake. Only person who knows that saying is dead and has been for years. The first told it to me when I told him my plans for the sentence, and he died a few hours later, so he could not have told anyone it or wrote it down. Very well. I will believe you on this, but I don't like it. Naruto nodded and a butler brought a scroll over and Naruto said, I want you three to put a drop of blood on this scroll. Anko asked why. Naruto said it will give you access to this place after I leave. Anyone who tries to enter after the Genjutsu seals are on will be sent to the Hokage Mountain. I have scrolls of every jutsu I know with the exception of Rasengan and Hiraishin no Jutsu in my library. It's down the right hallway off the main living room. Can't miss it. There are a little over 11,000 jutsu from all the elements as well as medical and genjutsu. I give you all permission to look at them and learn them, but don't try to read my journals. I put my personal thoughts on stuff in them, and if anyone but a blood relation tries to open them, it will kill them. Also, don't teach any of those jutsu to anyone until I come back. Kakashi will also be allowed access, but only you four. The third said that's more jutsu than the entire Leaf Village. How did you get so many? Naruto said, you know how Kage Bunshins learn everything you do and vice versa. Well, I had Kage Bunshins break into several other villages' libraries and memorizes them as well as spent time among missing nin in other lives to learn them. It makes me more adaptable and a better ninja. The third nodded and a few clones brought out a plate with a Parmesan chicken and some white rice with a bottle of champagne. The champagne was opened and everyone got a glass and enjoyed the food before Naruto said, I hope I answered some of your questions. Kurenai said yes, but we have more. Naruto nodded and said then that will give us a chance to write each other. I will have a summon check with the Hokage once a month to pick up any scrolls and deliver them so he can know how we are doing or if something important is about to happen or happens he needs to know about. Also, you all should know that only you three and Kakashi know who I really am, but he does not know him from a different life or anything like that, so don't tell him. I don't want him to depend on me when I have to hold back. The third sighed as he sat his wine down and said, I'm getting too old for this. Naruto smiled and said, I'm sorry again for being so mysterious and all, but it has to be this way for now. I will be taking my real name by the end of the Chunin exams, so do what you think is wise about that, old man. Anko said, you said Orochimaru will be coming for Sasuke. Why? Naruto said, I have said too much already, so please don't ask me that. I will say this. The only reason I could remove your curse seal, Anko, is because you do not want it. If someone does want it, then I can't remove it. Also, I should tell you he has spies in this village. Some even I don't know. I do know who his main one is, but I can't do anything about him until later. Kurenai said, what are you really after, Naruto? Why live all these lives and work so hard like you say you have? Naruto looked at her and each of his other guests and sighed as he dropped his hinge, showing the real Naruto, who said in a voice that you could hear was older than time and loneliness that no one could comprehend this Sensei Haim. I want to be able to be me. Everyone already has ideas of me. Even you and Saraheim when you imagined why I hid who I am. I want to be the real me. Not somebody who has to hide himself from the world. Who can't show feelings to those he cares about or show how smart he is afraid the village would kill him for it. I want to be able to relax around people who actually care for you. I want to be able to show the world the real me and have a family who will look on at me with pride and love. That's why I do this. If you will excuse me, but it's getting late. Enjoy your evening. And he got up and bowed to them, and the three butlers in the room walked behind each person, and they were consumed in flames, appearing back at their own homes, and the butlers went up in a puff of smoke. That night 4 people had very little sleep, thinking of everything that they seen or heard or told. Chapter 10. It had been a week now since Kakashi had officially returned to Fire Country. He had been in 3 towns so far and had yet to find who he was looking for. Today, however, was a different matter. He had not found Jiraiya, but Kakashi found someone who might just be as good. In front of him was an old friend of his, and he knew she was never alone. He walked up and said, hello, Shizune. Shizune spun around and said, Kakashi. Is that you? Kakashi nodded and said, yeah, it's me. How are you doing? Shizune said, fine, why? Kakashi said I was looking for someone, but when I saw you I thought I would check up on an old friend. Shizune said, who are you looking for? Kakashi said I was looking for Jiraiya. I got a mission from someone I thought was dead, and he wants me to deliver a scroll to him. Shizune said, who's that? Kakashi said, Sensei's son. Naruto Kazama. I just found out recently that the third changed his name because of his father's enemies. Shizune was shocked and said Arashi's kid is alive. Kakashi nodded and said I was hoping that maybe you or Tsunade might have seen Jiraiya since he is always following you both for his research. Shizune turned red from anger and embarrassment and said about 2 weeks ago near Ritsar City. Kakashi nodded and said I can't believe Sensei's son's been in front of me the whole time and never knew it. Shizune said what name did the third give him Kakashi? Kakashi looked around and said Naruto Uzumaki. Too bad the village never saw him as the hero Sensei wanted. I got to go. Thanks for the info. And he jumped away heading toward Ritsar City. Shizune walked back toward where her master was not seeing the smirk Kakashi had behind his mask. Though Naruto did not tell Kakashi that he was Tsunade's grandson, he knew because of a certain stealth mission Erasure had his team do. They broke into the hospital record office and compared blood types to find out who his parents were. He never told them because he wanted to prove himself on his own. Kakashi, as he jumped from tree to tree, thought to himself, I hope this starts to repay you for not being there for you godson. Shizune walked into the casino and was shocked by what she saw. Tsunade had a huge pile of money she had won. She walked over and said, Tsunade, how did you win? Tsunade said, something bad is going to happen to me soon. Shizune said, I hope you're wrong. I just ran into Kakashi. Tsunade bet all her money and won again and said, what's old one eye up to? Shizune watched her master bet it all Aegean and crunched and said he just told me something that made me happy and upset at the same time. Tsunade won again and put it all on the line and said, what's that? Shizune said, you remember Naruto Uzumaki? Tsunade nodded and won even more, and she placed it all on one hand. She had close to 10 million on the line. Shizune said, Kakashi told me that's not his real name. It's Kazama, and he's Arashi's son. Busted. Tsunade not only lost all her money, her chair she was sitting in broke, and when she tried to stop her fall she accidentally had the table break in the middle, sending all the money into the air. A glass of shitty-smelling beer flew up and landed on her head, and some old gumless dealer fell right in between her breast. Shizune looked shocked at the damage, and then the owner of the casino came over demanding she pay for all the damage. Tsunade said, I just knew something bad was going to happen. And she got up and grabbed Shizune and dragged her as fast as she could away. When they had been running for about half an hour, Tsunade stopped and turned to Shizune and said, tell me everything that Kakashi said. Shizune, never seeing her master like this before, started saying everything. Tsunade at the end was looking out across the lake and said, we're going to Konoha. Shizune said, but Tsunade, you said you would never go back. Why now? Tsunade said, I need to see my grandson. As she walked off, ignoring the shocked face of Shizune as she began walking toward Konoha. Naruto had been busy the week since he had guessed for dinner. He had been finishing the seals on his home, getting supplies ready for his trip when Jiraiya arrived, training and avoiding the three he told so he could clear his head. Today we find Naruto walking toward a certain shop to get something remade. He forgot to seal something in a dimension pocket when he was torturing Kabuto. The memory of that brought a smile to his face. He walked into the Wolf Claw weapon shop disguised with black hair and green eyes and walked to the counter and said, I was wondering if you could make something for me. The man behind the counter said, most likely stranger. The name's Dustin and I'm the owner. What can I do for you today? Naruto pulled out a scroll and said, I need that sword made and this vial of blood put in it. As he handed not only the scroll but a tube of blood. Dustin opened the scroll up and looked at it before whistling and said, yeah, I can make it, but it will take at least a week and it would cost 2 million to do. I would have to cancel all other jobs to do it. Naruto pulled out a scroll and unsealed some money and said, either I or someone for me will come by to get it then. If it's not me, ask for the password and it's Phoenix. Dustin nodded and Naruto left and went around the village. He soon saw some of the kids of the Rookie 9 playing and walked into an ally and changed into his real self. He walked over to near them and went to say something when a pink-haired woman said, what are you doing here, demon? I heard you died. Soon several other adults started walking over to him and started to say other hate-filled remarks, and somebody threw a rock which cut his head. The sight of blood was enough to turn the now growing crowd of angry villagers into a shark-feeding frenzy. They started to attack with more rocks and an occasional stick. Somebody threw a kunai at him and he was going to let it hit, but suddenly it was deflected and there stood a certain red-eye woman and she said, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" The same pink-haired woman from before who has a daughter named similar to Akura said he was going to attack our children. A voice from behind the crowd said, "Actually, Mrs. Haruno, he was walking over to them and did not do anything when you broke the third's law." Another villager said, "Mind your own business, sneak witch." And he started to walk toward her still with a kunai in his hand when suddenly he tripped and hit his head on the ground. He turned to see what tripped him and cursed as several people snickered at him for tripping over a tree root. The third arrived and said, "Anko Kurinai, thank you for stopping this before it got out of hand. Please take him and make sure he is okay. I saw everything, and Mrs. Haruno, you break my law one more time and I will enforce the penalty. Same for any of you. I have Umbu writing each of your names down right now." The crowd paled and a kid with a dog on his head said, "Mom, what was that all about?" Inoichi, who walked over with Ino and saw everything, said, "People being idiots." In Izuka, he was looking at Naruto and saw something he never seen before. Respect. Unlike everyone else in the crowd, he saw what Naruto did and he now understood a few things that have been bothering him. He saw the tree branch that came out of the ground just a little to stop the guy from attacking Anko. He looked around and noticed he was not the only one who had caught that. Two looking around make that three others had caught it. A Nara, a Kimichi, and an Aburame. He would have to talk to them later. For Naruto to use the first bloodline would mean he is most likely the guy who sent flowers to the two women. He looked at them now and snickered to himself and said, "Already protecting the ones you care for." Mrs. Haruno walked over and said, "Damn right, Inoichi. Why won't the Hokage just kill him already?" As she watched the two women lead Naruto toward an ally to get across town. Inoichi narrowed his eyes and said, "Mrs. Haruno, please don't say that again. How would you feel if it would have been your daughter instead of him?" Mrs. Haruno said, "I would never give my child for that." Inoichi said, "Then perhaps whoever did was a better person than you. Goodbye." And he walked away bringing his daughter with him. For those who are wondering what happened in the alleyway, let's take a look. As Kurinai and Anko led Naruto into the alley, a red glow surrounded him and all of his wounds healed. He looked around and hinged into his blonde hair Arisher form and turned to both of them and said, "Thank you." Anko said, "What were you trying to do back there, Gaki?" Naruto sighed and leaned against the wall and said, "I thought that I could introduce myself to those who would become the Rookie Nine, so that way when I came back I don't have to try as hard to befriend them. I should have known better." Kurinai looked at him and said, "It's it always like that for you." Naruto said, "That was nice to something's that's happened." Anko said, "You okay now, Gaki?" Naruto nodded and then stood straight up like someone kicked him and looked toward the east side of the village and said, "What the hell? How the hell did they both get here so quick? I knew he was coming, but her also. What the hell did you do, Kakashi?" Both women looked at him and Kurinai said, "What are you talking about?" Naruto said, "I smell Gamabunta and Katsuyu, which means both Tsunade and Jiraiya are arriving soon." Both women looked at each other and said, "Are you sure?" Before Naruto could answer, though, they felt a great rumbling in the ground and heard what sounded like an explosion. Naruto said, "I know those two anywhere fighting Manda so many times." He then jumped up on the rooftop, quickly followed by Anko and Kurinai. Just as they made it, they saw a huge frog standing beside a huge slug with two people on each. Well, the one on the frog was slumped over the other's shoulder. On further inspection, you could see Kakashi was hogtied and looked to be in great pain. Naruto said, "Told you. If I had to guess, the old pervert read my note and found Tsunade on his way here. Don't know why Kakashi like that, though." "Oh shit." Anko said, "What?" Naruto said, "Last time I seen that look on her face, Tsunade removed a traitor's heart." Kurinai said, "What's so bad about that?" Naruto said, "She used her pinky to knock it out his back." Both women blanched and Naruto said, "My guess is somebody better protect the Hokage." Kurinai asked why. Naruto said, "A week after the Kyuubi attack, Tsunade arrived because she wanted to see me, but the third told her straight to her face I was dead, even though he knew I was alive." Just then Tsunade jumped off the slug, and when she landed, a 40-foot crater appeared in the middle of the road, and she took off toward the Hokage Tower. Not a moment later, Jiraiya jumped off with Kakashi still over his shoulder, and he also took off toward the tower. Naruto saw both summons disappear and Shizune walking slowly and scared. Naruto grabbed the hands of both women beside him and flanged Shushin to beside Shizune and had a Kage Bunshin grab her, and all four of them flanged Shushin to the Hokage office just in time to see the Hengist fly off as the door was sent sailing. Naruto released the three women he had and leaned against the wall. A moment later, Jiraiya burst through the window, and before anyone could say anything, Naruto went through hand signs, slamming his hands into the ground, and said, "Doton, Yomi Numa Earth Release." Underworld Swamp, and everyone except the three women behind him could feel all of their energy being drained, and they were unable to move. Naruto looked up, dropping his hinge, and said, "Hello, grandparents. Calm down, and we can go somewhere more private to talk." Everyone who was in the room was looking at him, and he finally released the jutsu and relaxed. Tsunade looked at him and said, "How?" Naruto said, "Come with me to my home and I will tell you what you need to know. You also, Ero-Sannin. By the way, what the hell did you do to Kakashi?" Jiraiya said, "I didn't," and pointed to Tsunade. Tsunade said, "He pissed me off. Let's go so we can talk." Naruto nodded and flashed through some hand seals and said, "Secret art, hotel room escape." And the door to the Hokage office repaired itself. Jiraiya looked at him and said, "How do you know my jutsu?" Naruto yawned and held out a perfect Rasengan and said, "I don't know what you're talking about. Let's go to my place. I'm sure Shizune is tired from riding Katsuyu. Saraheim and Sensei Heim. You are both welcome to come. Sorry about the mess, old man. Tell Kakashi I will talk to him later, but don't tell him anything else." The third sighed, mumbling something about being too old, and just nodded as Naruto created 5 Kage Bunshins, and they each grabbed a person, flame Shushin away. Kakashi grounded a few minutes later and saw he was in the Hokage office, and he sat up and said, "What? How did I get back here? Last thing I remember was telling Jiraiya how I told Shizune about Tsunade's grandson being alive." The third said, "How did you know he was her grandson?" "Naruto just told me he sent you to find Jiraiya so they could find her." Kakashi chuckled and said, "When I was still a Genin, Arashi-sensei has us break into the hospital record office and compare his blood to everyone on file there. I learned they both were his parents then. If I would have known Naruto was Sensei's son, I would have told them sooner. Especially since he is my godson." The third said, "You're lucky to be alive because Jiraiya said Tsunade was the one who did that to you." Kakashi said, "Where are they?" The third said, "Naruto took them to his new home." Kakashi said, "Where does he live?" The third said, "You will have to see for yourself. Give them today to talk and I am sure Naruto will come find you and take you there." Kakashi sighed and just nodded. Meanwhile, in Naruto's pad, as they all 6 arrive at Naruto's house in the living room, Naruto nods and his Kage Bunshins change into butlers and go to get some drinks. Naruto said, "I will be back in a moment," and walks into another room. Tsunade looks around the room and notices something quickly. There are pictures of her and Jiraiya and Shizune with someone who looks like Naruto, as well as several other pictures of things she knows are not real. Her heart stops though when she sees a picture of Naruto or Shizune and Jiraiya, and Naruto is wearing her grandfather's necklace. She quickly pats it and finds it still there. Just then the butlers return with drinks for everyone. Jiraiya is sitting quietly. The fact he did 3 jutsu in the span of 3 minutes surprised him, but the fact 2 of them he should have no way of knowing is something that worries him. He takes the drink the butler gives him and takes a sip. He looks at everyone in the room. Tsunade looks like she sees a ghost. Shizune is looking scared. Orochimaru apprentice is here for some reason. Where the hell is the curse seal? Anko rubs her neck and Tsunade turns around and notices it's also gone, and Naruto walks back in the room and said, "I removed it." And he is carrying 3 scrolls, and he hands one to Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Shizune and said, "This should answer most of the questions you will have." And he sits down and sips some wine, shocking 3 of the 5 people here besides himself. Tsunade broke the blood seal and opens the scroll and nearly drops it as it is in her own handwriting. She looks up and notices that both her assistant and Jiraiya are also shocked. She begins, "As you have already guessed, I am writing this myself to you. The boy here, Naruto, is really your grandson. He only found out after I told him. Even though he looks young, he is a lot older mentally. The QB is dead, but keep that to yourself. Naruto was dying, but the damn fox gave its life to the Shinigami to allow him to redo his life from the age of 5. He won't tell you what is going to happen, so don't ask, as it might make things worse. This scroll was written so he did not have to explain everything over and over again, because he truly wants to have his family. He has 3 women who he wants to marry, but I won't tell you in case he changes his mind. Beware of Orochimaru and any advice Naruto gives you about him. Also, the man who killed our grandfather is still alive, or at least until Naruto kills him again. He will explain that when the time comes. Also, beware the Uchiha. Ask him if he is ready to have his family name announced. If he is, then support him. He knows all the laws of the village. Even the ones about how our family owns the actual village. Stop drinking and gambling so much unless you take him with you, and never bet against the brat. He always wins. He learned the first stage of Rasengan in a few days. The second stage in 5 days, and the last stage in 1 week, which is how he won our grandfather's necklace. He has grandfather bloodline. Hopefully all of his lifetimes won't make him like his grandfather. He does not know who his mother is. You know, but don't tell him unless she says so. She also does not know he is alive. The old man did not know they were married, so he did not know she was his mother, and even then their relationship would not have been looked on well. She is alive, but I don't know where. Have fun, and make sure that damn pervert does not turn our grandson into one and he does not tell who his mother is. Have fun. Yourself. Jiraiya was reading his and said you learned Rasengan in less than a month. Damn Gaki. Must be my superior genes. Tsunade frowned and said we need to talk later, Jiraiya. Naruto took another sip of his wine, said I already know how you both got together. I do have one thing to say, Ba-chan. Your brother was killed by the Hebe team for his experiments. That is where he got the DNA of the first to put in Yamato. Jiraiya looked at Enko and Kurenai, and Naruto said you even think about trying to peek on Saraheim Sensei Heim or Temari Heim, and I will make sure the rest of your ninja career is as a kunoichi. Also, I have already sent a proposal to buy your publisher, pervert. Jiraiya paled and said there's no way you have enough money to do that, Gaki. Naruto smirked and said the last time I checked I had close to $900 billion in gold arrow Sannin, and I have added to it since then, and that's not counting Dad's estate either. Tsunade dropped her scroll and said you could pay off all my debts. Naruto looked at her and said you think I'm stupid. You may be known as the legendary sucker, but am not. I will help you with some, but not all, because then you won't learn not to gamble so much. Shizune looked up from her scroll and said Naruto, your mother's Rin. Tsunade gasped and said Shizune, what are you doing? Shizune sighed and said helping my little brother out, or at least that's what the scroll says I think of him as, and since you both have known for 5 times that we have seen these scrolls, I made a promise to myself that on this time, he would know if he did not. Naruto looked at Tsunade and then Shizune and then Jiraiya and saw the look on his face saying he knew also, and he said I want answers. Tsunade sighed and said it's not our place to tell you. Shizune said Tsunade, from what I read until he started going back in to start over, he never knew anything about who he was and who his family is. It says he only found out you were his grandmother by chance, and Jiraiya was a guilt trip on you. He found out who his father was because he was wounded and you had to give him a blood transfusion. Please tell him who his other family is so he can have that peace. And she had a tear in her eyes. Tsunade sighed and said all right. I will tell you. What do you know about your dad's genin team, Naruto? Naruto said just that dad's teammate Obito, who has been reincarnated in Sword, and Kakashi were teamed up with a girl. Obito originally died but was saved by a member of Akatsuki and gave Kakashi his Sharingan. Rin left because she was heartbroken over the fact that Obito died after professing his love, and she was a fangirl for Kakashi. Tsunade nodded and said everything up to the reason why she left you are right on. Naruto said huh. Tsunade said the real reason she left is she was pregnant, but not with you, and no, you don't have a brother or sister. She had an abortion, which was a good thing because I'm sure you heard about how Rin was captured before Obito died, right? Naruto nodded and Tsunade said the ninja that captured her tortured her not only mentally but physically, and you can figure the rest out. Naruto looked down as Tsunade continued. You heard how Kakashi passed out and had Obito's eye, right? Well, when your dad arrived, he was able to figure out what had happened and promised her not to tell, which he never did. I only know because I did the abortion when she left the village. I took care of her for a while after that, and then your dad came back and brought her back to the village, and they started to fall in love. The pervert over here, even though he did not know Erashir was his son, was there too as a witness, as was I and Shizune. I ran into her, and she told me the same thing the third told me, that you had died when the hospital collapsed. He did not know she was your mother. She was an Inuzuka, and she was banished when she came back from the abortion because her clan knew she was pregnant when she came back on the mission, and it's against their clan laws to have an abortion because of their heightened senses. They knew she was and knew what happened. When that happened, she returned to your dad and he had her hidden at the Kazama estates. Sadly, that was destroyed during the Kyuubi attack. The pervert over here, even though he did not know Erashir was his son, was there too as a witness, as was I and Shizune. I ran into her, and she told me the same thing the third told me, that you had died when the hospital collapsed. He did not know she was your mother. They had only been married for a year when you were born, and he kept it secret from everyone. Kakashi knew Erashir was going to have a kid, but did not know who the mother was for obvious reasons. Your dad had the king of Snow Country do the ceremony in Snow Country. Naruto said Yuki's dad. Everyone looked at him, and he sighed, said, I save a few countries who are under tyrants in my genin career. I saved Snow Country and restore Princess Yuki to power. I still can't believe she did an Ika Ika Paradise movie. Now when he said that, three things happened. 1. Every female in the room turned to Jiraiya, knowing full well about his books. 2. The pervert ignored the growing killer intent. 3. He made a perverted giggle and wrote down while saying it out loud, make Ika Ika movies. Naruto blinked, and 4 women began beating the shit out of Jiraiya. After they were done, Tsunade said, now where was I? Oh yes. After the third told us that you had died, your mom still had Sannin travel papers and left the village. I've seen her a few times, but not in over a year. I did not want to tell you until I talked it over with her because of the painful memories. Naruto sighed and closed his eyes and said, I can relate. Kurenai said, is Rin any relation to Hana? Tsunade thought for a moment and said, is she the clan head's daughter? Kurenai nodded, and Tsunade said, then Hana is Rin's niece, so Naruto's cousin. Naruto groaned and said, that means I'm related to Kiba. Damn it. No wonder my senses are better than the Inuzukas. I always thought it was because of Kyuubi. Now I find out the damn furball just increased what I already had. I bet the fox is laughing that one over in the grave. Tsunade sighed and said, so now that we know the truth, what do you plan to do, Naruto? Naruto said, I plan on leaving the village for a few years and train and spend time getting to know my family better. Return in about 6 years so I can graduate with my age group. Get everything ready. Kill Orochimaru, Uchiha Itachi, Uchiha Madara, Kakuzu, restore my clan, make my family proud, and settle down and have a family. That about wraps it up. Shizune said, is anyone else disturbed by this? Everyone nods, and Naruto said, what? Anko slaps her head and said, you're the damn mature Gaki. Put your older hinge on so it's not so disturbing. Naruto groaned and said, you're no fun. Ah well. New family tradition. Since the old hag here uses a genjutsu, I might as well. Slam. Naruto's head went into the floor and down to the forest below, followed by the rest of his body. Tsunade looks down the hole and said, where the hell is this house at? Anko said, Gaki built it in the forest of death. Sweat drops. Naruto walks back into the house in his blonde hair Erashir disguise and said, don't worry about the hole. The house repairs itself every 10 minutes. Jiraiya said, you're a seal master. Aren't you, kid? Naruto said, my own personal seals makes the Fuinjutsu Shiki Fujin demonic soul seal look like a flash tag. Jiraiya whistled a low whistle and said, we have got to compare notes. Naruto said, visit my library. All my jutsu and seals are in there, including medical that both Ba-chan and Shizune-chan might like to look at. Tsunade said, why do you call me Aunt? Naruto said, would you rather me call you Abakin? Tsunade had a vein appear and said, Aunt will be fine, I guess. I don't like being cold old. Naruto snickered and said, don't worry. By the time I'm done, your genjutsu will have gray hairs. Jiraiya laughed and Naruto said laugh it up Ero Sannin. I'm sure Ba-chan would love to know about the time you put an aphrodisiac in her sake. Only thing that kept you from getting married and killed that night was the fact that the Hokage summoned you for getting him busted peeping at the hot springs. Shock was on three faces and Jiraiya said you hate me don't you? Naruto said nope just keeping my promise to Gamabunta to get the hell beat out of you for using his kids in your researching adventures. Jiraiya was sent courtesy of a super fist through the wall and across the forest of death only to land in the hot springs. Unfortunately for him, he landed in the hot springs owned by the Hyugas and was being used by no more than 30 women. He learned a new meaning to the words gentle hands. Naruto looked at the clock on the wall and got up and walked over to Anko and Kurenai and said, well, make yourself at home. I will be back shortly. And grabbed both their hands and flamed Shushin away. He appeared on top of the Hokage monument and said, thank you both again for today. I hope to see you both again before I leave. Anko said, why did you bring us here, Gaki? Naruto smiled and said it's sunset and this is the best place in the village to see it. I wanted to do something special for both of you. Pointing off the mountain over the village. Both women were in awe by the display and did not know it until they felt a pressure point being hit on their neck sending them into heaven from pleasure. Naruto did not release it either. He held it until he heard them both moan from pleasure, then he released it and kissed them both before they could react since they still had their eyes closed from pleasure. He kept kissing them both and they were both being turned on by it. When the kiss broke they both opened their eyes and noticed two Narutos and they said I did not want one to feel left out by that. I love you both. Good night and both flamed Shushin away so neither woman could tell which one was real. Chapter 11. 10 days have passed since the two Sanins arrived in the village and mysteriously disappeared. Today they had reappeared but were standing at the front gate. Funny thing is they had the Kyuubi brat with them. At the gate were only 4 people who were not leaving. They were Anko, Kurenai, Kakashi, and the third Hokage. A lot has happened in those 10 days. Naruto decided that giving Kakashi access to his library at this time might not be a good idea because then he would know how strong he could be. He decided besides his family only the third Anko and Kurenai would be allowed for now. The third was supporting 2 black eyes for lying about Naruto being dead, but at least he was still alive. Naruto had signed the Toad contract, but he did not make it away with kissing both Anko and Kurenai. They had Tsunade put a temporary chakra poison in his food when she cooked and made it where he could not escape. Flashback. Naruto was sitting on his couch when both Anko and Kurenai walked in. It had been 2 days since he seen them and kissed them but was not anything really. As they walked toward him he saw a gleam in Anko's eyes he had not seen since him and the other Anko tortured Kabuto. One thought went through his mind. I'm screwed. And he tried to leave but couldn't because his chakra was screwing up. Deciding diplomacy might be his only chance, he said, look, I'm sorry. I wanted to kiss you both and I figured that would be my last chance for a long time. Kurenai looked at Anko and said he wanted to kiss us. He never asked if we wanted it. Anko nodded and said, what do you take us for? The kind that kiss on the first date. Naruto said, of course not. I know I should have waited, but he was cut off by a kunai landing in front of his crotch and he looked up and Anko said, what makes you think if you waited it would have been all right? Naruto was scared. He did not want to find out if his healing ability has the same weakness as Kabuto, so he said, you're right. I took advantage of you both and I shouldn't have. Kurenai said yes and now you are going to pay. Anko pulled out another kunai and walked over, cutting the top of his shirt off on one side. Kurenai did the same on the other. Naruto tried to stand but had no energy and noticed a chakra draining seal had been placed on his chair. He said, is there any way I can make it up to you both? Anko looked at Kurenai and said, I don't know. What you got to offer? Naruto said, dinner my treat. Kurenai said, no, not even a good start. As she started to cut the side of his pant leg. Naruto said, dinner anywhere you want and a free week at the hot spring my treat. Anko said, no, it's tempting but that still makes us feel cheap and used. As she cuts his other pant leg. Naruto was getting scared even more and said, the dinner hot spring and a massage. Kurenai blinked and said, that is getting a little better, but you could cheat us on the massage. As she cut his pant leg all the way to his crotch. Naruto was afraid his family line was ending this day, so he said dinner anywhere every night for a week, hot spring for a week, a massage with oils, and all the pleasure points I know once a day until I leave the village. And I will bring chocolates and flowers for each of you, and I will take you shopping and pay for it. I promise. And he closed his eyes, afraid of what would happen next. Anko looked at Kurenai and Kurenai back at Anko and nodded, and then Naruto heard the fabric of his pants rip and looked down to see how bad it was and saw that they had both just cut the legs off at the crotch on his pants, and they both said deal. Flashback end: Naruto money took a huge dent this week as he pampered both Anko and Kurenai. $1,000 a day each is what it costed because they made him take them to the most expensive restaurants, costing $225 a meal each. The chocolates were $100 a box each a day. Massage oils costed him $75 a day each. The hot spring was also the best and most expensive one in town, so it costed $150. Flowers were $50 each. Shopping was $400 a day each. Massaging two beautiful women in two-piece bikinis. Priceless. When you have the body of a 6-year-old and the mind that has had perverts as senseis all your life. It's a great life. Anko walked over and said, "Did you learn your lesson, Gaki?" Naruto said, "Yeep." No kissing on the first date. Kurenai walked over and said yes, even though it was not a date. Naruto smiled and said, "True. But I will wait to kiss you both on the second date when I get back," as he dodged the kunai being thrown. Kakashi walked over and said, "So when are you going to show me your place, Naruto?" Naruto said, "Maybe when I come back." Kakashi nodded and said, "So how did you get the Ice Queen and Snake Mistress to kiss you?" Kurenai said, "We did not kiss him, Kakashi, and you better not tell anyone either." Anko said, "But he does have magic hands." Kurenai turned bright red and said, "Shut up, Anko." Too bad Kakashi heard them and gave a perverted giggle. Naruto said, "Kakashi, just so you know, even though you are my godfather does not make you immune to my wrath." Kakashi said, "What can a little kid like you do to a jounin like me?" Naruto said, "I bought Jiraiya's publishing company. I could close it." Kakashi paled and said, "You hate me, right?" Naruto smiled an evil smile and said, "No, Kakashi. If I did, I would do far worse. I would start printing guys' physical education book and Ika Paradise covers." Kakashi took a step back in fear and said, "That look on your face reminds me of my old teammate Rin. God, I would love to see her again." Naruto waved his hand dismissively and said, Yeah, Kakashi. I don't want to hear about your past social life." Kakashi sighed and let his perverted side take over and said, "Man, I wish I could see her ass again. I was an idiot back then. I could have had her when she was my fangirl before. If she came back, I would take her home and make love to her all night long." Now Naruto just learned that Rin was his mother, and even though he never met her, he did not like the idea of perverts talking like that about her, so he did what any self-respecting #1 hyperactive knucklehead, with 11,000 jutsu in his memory with the power of the greatest of all demons' power at his disposal. He walked behind Kakashi, who was still daydreaming, bent down and put his finger in a tiger seal, started sending some of his wind manipulation around his fingers and said 10,000 years of death, and shoved his fingers up Kakashi's ass, sending him flying across the village. Everyone was sweat dropping at this, and he said, "I hate perverts, and I don't like what he was thinking about." The third said, "Naruto, just because he says something to upset you does." He was stopped when Tsunade leaned over and whispered, "Don't tell my grandson he should not defend his mother's honor. He might kill you." The third paled and coughed before saying, "Right, Naruto. Good job and keep up the good work. Have a safe trip, bye." And he left in a swirl of leaves. Jiraiya walked over and said, "We better get on the road." Naruto nodded and walked over and said, "I will miss you, Himes, and I left a going-away present for you after I walk out the gates. Goodbye, my Himes," and he had two clones appear and hinge and kiss both before turning and walking out the gates, followed by Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Shizune. After they were out of sight, Anko said, "I wonder what he got for us." Kurenai said, "I don't know." Just then music started to play all over the village, and Anko looked at Kurenai and said, Didn't they both look at the Hokage monument and see the Hokage's heads are bopping up and down, and then they start singing, "Yeah, this right here goes out to everyone who's lost someone that they truly loved. Check it out. Every breath you take and every move you make, every bond you break, every step you take, I'll be watching you every single day, and every word you say, every game you play, every night you stay, I'll be watching you. It's kinda hard with you not around, know you, and heaven smiling down watching us while we pray for you. Every day we pray for you till the day we meet again. In my heart is where I keep you, friend, memories. Give me the strength I need to proceed, strength I need to believe my thoughts big. I just can't define, wish I could turn back the hands of time, us and the six shop for new clothes and kicks, you and me talking flicks, making hit stages. They receive you on still can't believe you're gone, give anything to hear half your breath. I know you still living your life after death. Every step I take, every move I make, every single day, every time I pray, I'll be missing you. I'll be missing you, thinking of the day when you went away. What a life to take, what a bond to break. I'll be missing you. Oh, can't you see you belong to me? How my poor heart aches with every step you take. Somebody tell me why. One black morning when this life is over, I know I'll see your face. Every step I take, every move I make, every single day, every time I pray, I'll be missing you. We miss you. By the end of the song, the entire village is out, and the Kakashi appears holding his ass beside Anko and Kurenai, who are both red-faced, and said, friend of yours. He received a swift punch in the face, and he sighs and said, I need to go to bed. A few miles away from the village, Naruto puts his pot in his bag, and Shizune said, you should turn that down. I could hear it all the way here. Naruto said, sorry. It only has one volume. Tsunade said, I'm sure they could hear it all the way back in Konoha. Naruto said, you have no idea. Listen. Why don't we go to Suna first? Jiraiya said, why is that, Naruto? Naruto said, there is a boy with a seal problem there. I think you might be able to fix Ero Sannin. A simple 3-star seal with a berserker seal over it holding the one-tailed raccoon demon. Everyone looked at him, and Tsunade said, why do you want to do that? Naruto smirked and said, it never hurts to get in favor of you possible future brother-in-law. Does it? Shizune said, Nizan, you're crazy, you know that. Naruto said, like a fox. So what do you say? After that we can go to Charmin City. I know they have great casinos and hot springs there. Both Jiraiya and Tsunade rubbed their hands together, and Shizune said, you're evil. Pure evil. Naruto changed into a very old man with a cane and said in a weak and tired voice, you should listen to your elders and use whatever weakness an enemy has. And he changed back into his 15-year-old body and said, thank God these henges actually are real. I would hate to have to take each step in my actual size. Jiraiya said, it would be good training for your body, Gaki. Naruto said, tell me. What would happen to my body with 10x gravity seals on and 10x chakra weights on? Tsunade said, your body would be crushed and you would die in minutes. Why? Naruto said, oh, I went from 10x to 15x last week on both. I just wanted to make sure I would not have any major problems. That's all. And a straight face, missing the shocked look on his 3 traveling companions' faces. Tsunade looked at him after gaining some composure and said, that is so wrong, kid. Naruto said, come on. I want to get there while I'm young. Jiraiya looked at Tsunade and said, why did we ever have kids? A vein appeared on her forehead and said, we. I had Erasure, you asshole, after you knocked me up drunk. Give me one reason why I should not kill you where you stand. Jiraiya pulled out a book and handed it to her and said, I bought all your gambling markers you had. And walked to catch up with Naruto. Tsunade sighed and said, this is going to be a long trip. She would not know how right she was when she said that. Flash forward 6 years, Kakashi sighed as he looked at his Umbu mask. Today he had to put it away, probably never to wear it again. He looked in his drawer and pulled out a mask he had not wore since he was a genin and put it on. Why was he depressed? Simple. The Council of Konoha forced the Hokage to make him a Jounin sensei. He wanted to refuse, but they said with him being the only other Sharingan user in the village he had to do it. He looked at himself in the mirror and then walked to his dresser, getting the last of his Umbu paperwork together, and was about to leave when he felt someone enter his house. He quickly grabbed a kunai and sneaked into the living room. The sight that greeted him was one he could only dream about. A woman in a brown coat and a red dress with brown hair and brown eyes was standing in his living room. The thing that made him smile behind his mask the most was he used to know this woman. She smiled at him and said, it's been a long time, Kakashi. So what's this I hear about you wanting to make love to me all night long? Kakashi smiled even more and said, oh Ren, I don't know who has been spreading such stories about me, but if you came here for that or want me to defend your honor, I would be glad to. Rin said, "Oh, the gentleman who told me that is someone who I think you would have a hard time beating." Kakashi patted his chest and said, "Nonsense, Rin. Just tell me who it was or show him to me, and I will set him straight." Rin said in an almost scared and quick voice, "Omegoed Kakashithachim," pointing toward Kakashi's door. Kakashi turned around and stopped dead in his tracks and paled at what appeared to be a ghost of someone he had not seen in almost 12 years. The figure was 6 foot tall and had blonde hair and blue eyes. Was dressed in a white coat with blue and red flames across the bottom and the sleeves. He had a sword on his side and the look of someone with a lot of wisdom. Rin came up behind Kakashi and said still in a scared voice, "It's him, Kakashi. He's the one who told me you said that. It my son Naruto." Silence was all that filled the room after that for about 1 second before the man in front of him and Rin behind him both burst out laughing and Kakashi fainted. The copycat ninja, said to have copied over 1,000 jutsu, fainted. Rin looked at Naruto and said, "That was fun, son. Thanks for doing that for me." Naruto smiled and said, "Anything for you, Mom. I got bigger fish to fry." Rin nodded and said, "So when do I get to meet those 2 lovely ladies you told me about?" "Temari is a keeper." Naruto said, "They all are, but I will introduce you later. I have to take my genin test." Rin said, "Don't kill anyone." Naruto said, "One time. Just because he deserved it. It was a sympathy kill anyways." Rin said, "You shoved the dude into Tsunade's chest and she crushed what was made him a man." Naruto said, "He should not have called you that." Rin said, "I am a bitch and proud of it. Now get to school or no Shushin for a month." Naruto sighed and said, "Yes, Mom. See you at home." She nodded and he flamed Shushin away. At the Hokage office, the third sighed as he finished hearing what all happened on the training trip. He said, "So all you did was lost $1 billion that Naruto earned back somehow. Bought 20 casinos. 10 hot spring, 2 publishing companies. 10 wineries. Visited Suna for clan business and got married and met Nato's mom." Jiraiya said, "Don't forget making 6 new Ika Ika books and bought a cruise line." The third said, "Did you do any training?" Shizune said, "Of course, Hokage-sama." The third sighed in relief until Tsunade said, "I trained not to gamble so much." Jiraiya said, "I trained to only peek on willing women." Shizune blushed and said, "I trained on the horizontal limbo." Everyone looked at her, sweat dropping, until she said, "Just kidding." The third sighed and said, "Thank God." Shizune then smiled and said, "I trained in how to table dance." The third screamed, "Get out now." And all 3 of them left, and Tsunade said, "The sad thing is that last one was true. Never give Shizune liquor." Irika was having a good day. Today was the last day of this year's class, and he was just about to call the last name on the list when a swirl of fire appeared beside him and a blonde-haired kid with blue eyes and a white coat that was taller than he was stood beside him and said, "Sorry I'm late. I got lost on the road of life." Everyone's sweat dropped and Irika said, "Can I help you with something?" The blonde said, "Yes. The Hokage sent me to take the final test. I just arrived back in the village with my family." Irika nodded and said, "Name please." The blonde said, "Naruto Uzumaki Kazama." Irika nodded and then paled as he started writing the name and said, "What was that name again?" Naruto said, "Naruto Uzumaki Kazama." Irika shook his head and said, "Right. Well, take a seat and I will call you after the last person. Sasuke Uchiha. Please come to the front of the class and perform the hinge replacement and bunshin." Sasuke walked down and did the 3 tests and then said, "Top that loser." As he walked back to his seat, Irika sighed and said, "Please do the same, Naruto." Naruto did the replacement. Sasuke, pissing, said, "Boy off." He then did a hinge of Mizuki and had a sign on his back that said, "I need fiber," making everyone laugh. Irika said, "You fail." Naruto said, "Look on his back." Irika looked and the sign was there until he removed it and said, "Please do bunshin." Naruto did a half seal and did a bunshin and Irika said, "You pass." "Hey, race your high." Just then a frog jumped through the window with a man who looked mentally disturbed on his back, and Irika recognized as Jiraiya of the Sannin. Said, "Jiraiya-sama, what do we owe the pleasure of your visit?" Jiraiya said, "I just came to tell my grandson that his fiancée left a package at the Hokage Tower and my wife, his grandmother, took it home for him." Irika nodded and said, "Do you mind me asking who your wife and grandson is?" Jiraiya said, well, my wife is my old teammate Tsunade, and as for my grandson, he's right behind you. Everyone in class turned and Naruto said, what Temari Heim send me Gramps. The two were laughing their asses off, already planned on doing this a month earlier. If someone was looking at Mizuki, you could have seen him scared shitless. Sniff sniff. I think he just shit himself. Mizuki asked, just how is that boy your grandson? Naruto said, simple. For a village full of ninja, you failed to look underneath the underneath. Exactly how many blonde-hair, blue-eye people are there in Konoha? There are only 3 families that have those traits. One is the Yamankos. The other was the Kazama, or should I say only my father Arashir Kazama, because he was adopted during the war. Guess who his parents actually are? One of them is right there and the other is at my house. My grandmother Tsunade Uzum betrayal is the other. Sakura said, but if he was adopted, that means his grandparents lost their rights to claim him. Acting all smug with her big brain. Let's deflate it, shall we? Naruto said, that rule is void when it deals with a clan that has a bloodline, which I have. Sasuke said, what loser clan and bloodline do you come from? Naruto said, you say something. Oh, I have my great-great-grandfather's bloodline. The first Hokages. Mokutan Abeles. Well, if that's all for today, or what? Iruka said, yes, that's all. Naruto nodded and said, hey buddy. You really do need more fibers so you won't shit yourself again. And Naruto turns to leave, but stop and rolls to the side, dodging a kunia. Naruto said, it's good to see you also, Saraheim. Anko coming through the window and walks over, pulling the kunia she threw, and turns and said, welcome back, Gaki. Same as ever, I see. The entire room is watching this, afraid of what's going to happen since a kunia flew through the window at the new guy. Naruto said, your place of mine. Anko said, you have not been to your house yet, have you, Gaki? Naruto said, what the hell you do to it, woman? Anko said, relax. I like the locals, so I moved in. It's not like you don't have the space. Better look out for old Red Eyes, though. She is still a little upset about when you left. She don't know you're here yet. Naruto smiled and pulled out his pod and said, she will now. And hit play, and the music started to play across the entire village. As it does, a certain red-eyed woman who was taking a drink of wine suddenly spits it out all over the chainsmokers sitting across from her. I know there's something in the wake of your smile, I get a notion from the look in your eyes, yeah, you've built a love, but that love falls apart, your little piece of heaven turns too dark, listen to your heart when he's calling for you, listen to your heart, there's nothing else you can do, I don't know where you're going, and I don't know why, but listen to your heart. Before you tell him goodbye, Anko looked at Naruto along with the rest of the class, and he starts counting down from 20, 19 sometimes. You wonder if this fight is worthwhile, the precious moments are all lost in the tide, yeah, they're swept away, and nothing is what it seems, the feeling of belonging to your dreams, listen to your heart. And there are voices that want to be heard, so much to mention, but you can't find the words, the scent of magic, the beauty that's been when love was wilder than the wind. 020100 the door to the classroom bust open, and there stand a very beautiful looking Kurenai panting from running. Naruto smiles and said, hello Sensei Heim. I'm back. Listen to your heart when he's calling for you, listen to your heart, there's nothing else you can do, I don't know where you're going, and I don't know why, but listen to your heart before you tell him goodbye. She walks over and slaps him across the face, but he takes it and then she pulls him into a passionate kiss, shocking everyone including Naruto and Anko. When they broke apart, Naruto looked at Anko and said, well, what are you waiting on? Anko then pulls him into a kiss just as passionate, and then Naruto pulls both women close and then flames Shushin back to his home. Back in the classroom, Iruka clears his throat and hears scribbling and turns to see Jiraiya writing in a notebook, and Iruka said, okay, class dismissed. Sakura looks around the class and sees nobody moving. Even the lazy-ass Shikamaru is awake and wide-eyed. Ino screams, what the hell was that? Jiraiya, who had quit writing, said, well, if they said yes, that would be his other 2 fiancées. CYA. And he jumps out the window on the toad he was still standing on. Flashback 6 months earlier. Anko and Kurenai had been called to the Hokage office for a special meeting, or as they came to call it, over 6 years mail delivery. When they arrived, the Hokage was sitting at his desk and said, oh, I am glad you're both here. I was told to give these to you and have you both go to his home and read them. I don't know why, but you both have to do it together. Anko looked at Kurenai and said, what the hell Gaki up to this time? Kurenai said, I don't know. We might as well get on with it. Anko nodded and both leave Shushin away to Naruto's house. When they got there, they were in the living room and Anko said, okay, let's open them. They opened them and both said, what the hell? And looked at them and then looked at the other. After a moment, Kurenai said, I get it. It's a split code. I have one word, you have the next in sentence, and back and forward. No wonder he wanted both of us to do it together, but why? Anko said, only one way to find out. You first note Kurenai is bold, Anko is normal, so you know who is talking. Greetings, my Heims. I am writing these letters so you cannot ruin the surprise and the choices that I have laid out for you. If at some point you decide you don't want what is being offered, then please hand the other one the letter and let her continue, though I hope you both make it to the end of this and accept what gift I have for you. I love you both. Now let's begin. First, go to the library and look for a scroll in the Genjutsu section called Lonely Lotus. Don't go no further in these scrolls until you do. Anko said, let's go to the library. As the two walked toward the library, Kurenai said, how did we get in this in the first place? Anko said, he broadsided us with his boyish charms and his spirit, I guess. Kurenai said, or it could have been when we let him massage us into pleasure. Anko said, you mean climax, don't you? Kurenai just nodded while blushing. When they got to the library, Naruto had it divided into easy-to-find sections and alphabetized. They soon found the scroll and read what next. Congrats on finding the scroll. Inside is a genjutsu you will have to cast later. For now, I want you to both go into the kitchen and get a glass of water each and then go to the master bedroom. When you get there, I have 4 dressers. One with my name on it and the other 3 are nameless for now. Go to the middle drawer in the middle of the 9 dresser drawers and open it. Inside are 2 scrolls with your name and 3rd scroll with mine on it. When you got them, continue the scroll. Anko growled and said, Gaki is asking for it. I feel like I'm the prey in a game of cat and mouse. Kurenai said, we're almost done. We are almost at the bottom, so just hang on. Anko nodded and they got their glasses of water and went to the master bedroom and found the 3 scrolls. They continued to read. Now please sit the glass of water on each side of the bed and sit down. You will know why in a minute. Okay. Put the scroll with your name on it and only your name, or it might be dangerous. The Genjutsu scroll I had you get earlier will react to the scroll you have in your lap, and in the end you will have a choice like you do now. The Genjutsu is a memory jutsu. It has each memory for you based on which scroll you have of everything I have ever said or done with you. No more secrets. The choice is yours. It will take about 1 hour and you will be thirsty afterwards. That's what the water's for. After the Genjutsu ends, you will know what to do. I love you both. I hope you both will afterwards. Goodbye. Both women looked at each other and Anko said, well, why not? Don't really have anything to lose, and we will finally know what he knows about us. Kurenai was nervous but nodded, and they opened the Genjutsu scroll and it activated both, pulling them into a world of white light. They began seeing everything he had seen or done with them, both good and bad. Kurenai saw her saving Naruto when he was a child. Her trying to hook him up with her student. Him saving her from being raped, Asuma's death. The third's funeral. Team placements, him delivering hers and Asuma's child. Them flirt dating. Him sexy dancing in the street, kissing, along with many other memories, both good and bad. Anko saw her as an examiner, saving him as a child, her supporting him after Sasuke defection, removing the curse seals several times. Saving her life from Orochimaru. Torturing Kabuto, a prostitution mission. Flirt dating him, beating her in a spar to get her to teach him, them kissing him, tripping that villager, talking to her about her dreams. Eating Dano, killing him through sexual frustration, and several other things. Then there was a flash and Naruto stood there in front of them. He said, I did this so you would know why I feel the way I do for you, and that way I won't have any secrets when it comes to you. You are very special for me. I gave you the choice to do this, and now I give you one more. The scroll with my name on it has inside 2 rings for you. You have the choice of not accepting either option, which tells me I don't hold enough interest in your heart for that. I am sorry. On the other hand, 1 ring is red ruby, and it is a sign that you want to date me and get to know me better. Since I showed you everything I know about you, you can take that choice, which I doubt, but I could be wrong. The other ring is a white diamond. It has another meaning. That ring is if you accept this offer. He got down on one knee and said, will you marry me? You know I will have to have more than one wife, and I want you to be one of them. I already told you the 3 I hope for. If you can live with that choice, please accept the white ring as a sign of my love. Flashback end. Naruto looked at the 2 women beside him and looked at their hands and smiled before getting on one knee and said, thank you both for accepting me and willing to be my wives. I hope I can make you both happy. Anko said, get up, Gaki. You can get on your knees our wedding night. Kurenai sighed and said, how the hell can you put up with her pervertedness, Narukuen? Naruto smiled and said, look who my grandfather is. Kurenai sighed and said, good point. I can tell by the way you're dressed you're using your real name. Naruto nodded and said, it was a promise I made the old farts. They cut back on the gambling, peeping, and drinking if I claim my real name and wear it with pride. Not to self. Do not give Shizune Naiken any alcohol. Anko said, why? A woman's voice behind them said she strips to her undies and dances on tables. Both Anko and Kurenai turned around and Kurenai asked Narukuen, who's that? The woman smiled and said, my name's Rin and am his mother. Naruto rubbed the back of his head and said, hi mom. These are my other 2 fiancés. Chapter 13. Anko blinked and finally said, it's nice to meet you, Rin. Kurenai said, I was hoping they would run into you. I'm Kurenai and this is Anko. Wait a minute, that other girl already said yes. You never mentioned that in your letters. Naruto sighed and said, let me explain. See, flashback, it had been 1 week since they had left Konoha and now the 4 of them were standing in front of the Kazekage. The Kazekage said, so what do I owe the pleasure of the visit from 2 of the legendary 3? Tsunade said, our grandson here has recently contacted you about an arranged marriage between Suna and our clan. We received your reply and was happy with it. We were just starting a training journey to help him with his bloodline when Jiraiya here received some information, and with him having one of the best spy networks in the world, we thought it would be a good chance to share it with you to build trust between us and you. The Kazekage nodded and said, what exactly is it that you discovered? Jiraiya said, as I am sure you are aware, Sasori the Red has disappeared several years ago before you took office. I have gathered information on him that you would most definitely want. We also found out what happened to the previous Kazekage. The Kazekage was indeed interested now and said, proceed. Jiraiya said, the contact told me that Sasori used his abilities to make human puppets and turned the previous Kazekage into one so he could use its ability to use the iron sand. Sasori also has turned at this point 3/4 of his body into a puppet and has either joined or preparing to join a new group of S-class criminals that plan to come after your youngest son Gaara. The Kazekage was indeed curious and surprised by the info until the end. He said in an emotionalist voice, why would S-class criminals want to take my son? Naruto said the same reason they want to take me. They have a way to take out each of the 9-tailed demons from the current vessels. The Kazekage blinked and said, I was not aware that the Leaf Village had one. I would assume it would have to be Kyuubi since he is the only one to attack your village. Naruto said yes. The Kyuubi is sealed inside me for now. The Kazekage said, what do you mean for now? Naruto said, my bloodline has the ability to control demons. It helped me control the demon's enormous power, and with the help of the seals and my bloodline I will completely absorb the demon's power by the time I'm 16, if not sooner. The Kazekage nodded and said, that is indeed fortunate. Tsunade said, it is also the biggest secret in our village. Only one person outside this room knows it. The Hokage himself. All the adults in the village knows Kyuubi is inside of him. Less than 10 know he is the Yandame's son. Less than 5 know he is our grandson. I guess you could see the need to keep this secret. The Kazekage nodded and asked, what is the name of this group you were warning me about? Jiraiya said, Akatsuki, and so far they have recruited or are recruiting from my source. My source also tells me that they won't be becoming active for 6 years besides recruiting. They have to make sure all precautions are ready before they start capturing and extracting them. The Kazekage rubbed his temples and said, it's hard to decide what's right sometimes. Jiraiya nodded and said, Kazekage, I don't want to overstep my bounds, but I heard some people talking on the way here inside the village about being afraid of Gaara because of the demon. I am sure you best Sealmaster did the job fine, but if you would like I could take a look at it and tell you if there's any way for him to control it better. The only person besides the yondaime that I have seen with skills that are or will supersede my own is my grandson, who has already come up with a way to control more of his demonic chakra without damaging his coils. The Kazekage seemed to think about it and said, I will allow you to look, but I will be present and you can't do anything without my permission. If you do, I get your grandson as payment. Naruto said agreed. Shall we? The Kazekage looked at him and asked, You're coming? Naruto said, since my life is involved and the fact I can sometimes come up with new sealing methods that my grandfather overlooks makes it a wise choice. The Kazekage nodded and said, very well. Follow me. They quickly left and soon came to where Gaara was living with his uncle, and the Kazekage said, Gaara, I want you to let this man and his grandson to look at your seal. Gaara nodded and pulled his shirt aside and let everyone look at it. Naruto said, Kazekage, his sand is hiding the true seal because I can tell from here there is enough breaks in it to be a fake. Would you allow me to use my bloodline a little to drop the sand enough so we can see the true seal? The Kazekage was shocked they could tell about his armor of sand and said, of course. Naruto put his hand on the ground and started to use his bloodline. 6 wooden pillars shot out of the ground around Gaara, who seemed to calm down a lot, and the sand fell to the floor. Jiraiya walked over and looked at it and said, I take back what I said that whoever did the sealing knew what they were doing. He can't sleep. Can he? The Kazekage said, no, the demon won't let him. Jiraiya said, bullshit. If you wanted, he could sleep and still have full control of the demon's power. Whoever did this put 2 incompatible seals together and also a berserker seal. I say anywhere from 5 to 15 years the demon will be free from Gaara and Gaara will be dead. The Kazekage said, I see. Would you be able to fix this mistake? Jiraiya looked at it and said, yes. Especially with Gaki's help over there. I can put a brand new seal on and shatter the other. Gaara would have even more control on the demon as well as more power. He would also be able to sleep. The Kazekage said, do it. 2 days later the sealing had been done and Gaara was asleep. Today Naruto met Temari and she said, thank you for giving my little brother back. Naruto said, don't worry Temari Heim, that's what family does. Temari looked at him funny and said, family? I did not know we were related. Naruto said, we're not. I asked you, Dad, if I could marry you. He said it was okay with him, and as long as it's okay with you, we will be married when we get older. Temari looked at him and said, why not? You're cute and we're family. End flashback. And we have been sending letters back and forward like I have with both of you ever since, and I keep giving her the chance to back out. Hell, even Mom did last month when we stopped there to check on Gaara's seal. Only people who know the seal has been changed are the Kazekage and his 3 kids and my family, counting you both. I gave Temari a matching ring to yours. She will be here for the Chunin exams and stay here afterwards. Anko sighed and said, so how did you find each other? Rin said, well, it all started when, flashback 2 years, Rin was sitting in a bar drinking. She hardly ever drank but this day. October 10th. The day she lost her husband and son. A drunk walked over and said, hey baby, want to come back to my place for some fun? Rin was about to say something as she sat her glass down when Shizune can get off that table and put some clothes on before you make a fool of yourself. Rin turned and saw a woman she respected table dancing with only a pair of panties on and her breast wrapped. Rin looked over at the other people and saw Tsunade and Jiraiya and Erasure. No, it can't be. And she slowly started walking over to them. Rin, when she got close, said, Erasure, is that you? Naruto turned around and Shizune said in a very drunk voice, Rin, glad you could make it. Thought you would miss you son here's birthday. And passed out. Rin, who was a little drunk, looked at Shizune and then at the person she thought was her husband and then felt someone grab her and spin her around, and the guy from earlier said, listen here bitch, nobody blows me off like that. Naruto, in his 15-year henge with blonde hair and blue eyes, being the only sober person in the bar unable to actually get drunk because of his demon chakra, had understood what Shizune had said, and knew that this had to be his mom. He growled when the guy grabbed her and spun her around, but all gloves were off when he called her a bitch. He did not care if a girl was his best friend or worst enemy. He hated hearing women called that, and for it to be his mom. Ha 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 ha. Naruto walked over calmly and said, listen buddy, go fuck yourself and leave my mother alone. Rin looked at Naruto shocked, unable to properly get out of shock either from the 3 bottles of sake she done drunk or the fact Shizum called this guy her son and he called her his mother to do anything and watched as the man took a swing at Naruto. Naruto ducked under the swing and grabbed the man by his pants and shirt in the back and swung him hard away, hoping to just hit a wall or something. Instead, he landed face first in Tsunade's breast. Now for those who don't know anything about Tsunade, here is a history lesson. She sucks at gambling, does not know when to quit drinking, hates perverts, and when drunk and when someone she thinks is a pervert, 2 things happen. The man in her mind is automatically given an overlay of Jiraiya, and the second thing is she has no grudges about holding back. Tsunade did the only thing she would in a situation where a man messes with her breast. Jiraiya, I warned you for the last time, now you lose them. And she forcefully grabbed what makes him a man and with her intense strength crushed them. Pants do nothing to cushion the blow when you have her strength. The poor guy screamed so loud like a little girl that everyone in the bar turned and saw Tsunade still holding on, and all the men covered themselves. Unfortunately for the man, Jiraiya, who was drunk under the table, had insisted on a drinking contest for Naruto's birthday, so Tsunade had 14 bottles of sake at this point. Shizum bailed out at 3 but started taking clothes off as she got hotter. After that, Jiraiya passed out at 12 bottles and Naruto was on his 16th. Tsunade passes out still holding the guy who is screaming. Naruto, feeling sorry for the poor bastard, did what any man would do in that situation. He walked over and broke the guy's neck. He turned around and smiled, dropping the hinge to show the real him, and started to say something when he saw Shizum jump off the table and lands on Rin, knocking both of them out as she screamed Banzai on Naruto's side, and created a few Kage Bunshins, picking up his drunk family and flaying Shushin to their hotel rooms. End flashback. And when I woke up, Naruto and the others explained to me what really happened. The Hokage would have my wrath, but Naruto said if he did try his best to save his life all those time. Alright ladies, I don't care if you are his fiancé. No sex on the weekdays. Everyone looked at her and Kurenai looked at Naruto and he said, does insanity run in my family? Rin said no, but even I can tell that these 2 women are doing all they can from taking you here, and no. I can smell it. Naruto slapped his forehead and said, why must every role model I have in life be a pervert? Rin smiled and said, how do you think I survived after your dad died? Anko looked at her and said, you're a prostitute. Rin said, no, of course not. I'm an author. Kurenai sighed to herself, thinking it was okay, until Rin continued, I write the female companion to Ika Ika Paradise. Men for fun. Kurenai blushed. Anko said, you write those? They're great. And Naruto slaps his forehead again and said, I am surrounded by perverts. Anko said, this coming from the kid at age of 5 had magic fingers and hands. Rin blushed and said, chakra into the pressure points. Naruto looked at her and said, yeah, how did you know? Rin said, you take after your father. Naruto walked over and hits his head against the wall, ignoring the 3 women behind him. He stops and looks toward the village and said, shit, all 3 women looked at him and he said, Gaara's here. Rin said, how do you? She was cut off by a swirl of sand and 4 figures could be seen standing in his front room where it was. One was an older man with a sword on his side and a long trench coat. The one next to him was dressed in black and had a package on his back with makeup on his face. Beside him was a boy with red hair and the kanji for love. He also had a long trench coat, but it was brown and he had his arms crossed and a smile on his face. But right beside him was a beautiful blonde hair girl in a white battle outfit with a fan on her back that had the design of a Kyuubi and Shikaku fighting on it. Naruto turned to them and said, long time no see, Temari Haim. It's good to see you as well, Gaara and Baki. I don't talk to your puppet Kenkuro. Gaara said, it's good to see you as well, brother. Kenkuro's puppet laughed and said, true, but I only show the real me to women and on the battlefield. Naruto said, maybe that's why Noon has actually seen you since you became a genin 2 months ago. Baki chuckled and Temari walked over and embraced him in a passionate kiss. She broke it apart and slammed her fan into his head and said, how the hell did you convince Gaara to embarrass me like that, Narukuin? Naruto said, gave him all of Ero-Sennin's books. Gaara said, and I never been happier. Temari screamed and said, you had him go into his Shikaku form outside the village and dance while you had the song play, Walk This Way. Naruto said, I still did not know you could do the split like that, Gaara, in your demon form. Gaara said, it's a good thing I was 200 foot tall then, huh? With a smile. Baki cleared his throat and looked around the room and said, "It's good to see you again, Rin. Who are these ladies, if you don't mind?" Naruto said, "Relax, Baki, they won't tell anything. The one on the left is Anko, and the right is Kurenai, my other two fiancés." Temari shot them a look, judging them, and walked over to them and said, "If either of you breaks his heart, I will kill you." Kurenai looked at the girl like she was stupid, and Anko laughed and sighed, "Gaki, you got great taste in women. None of us take shit off of anyone." Baki cleared his throat and said, "Sorry. This is a business trip." Naruto nodded and said in a serious flat voice, "Go ahead, Baki." Temari was turned to listen to what was being said when two pair of arms grabbed her and dragged her away from the group. When they were far enough away, the three fiancés had a little talk. While that was happening, Gaara said, "A man came to our village proposing an alliance. Father actually has refused the deal, but told the man he would accept so he could get more info. The man is from the Hidden Sound village. Naruto said he proposes that you join up with them to attack us during the Chunin exams." Baki said, "Your grandfather's spy network is as good as ever I see." Naruto nodded and said, "What else?" Gaara said, "He is acting like we are their allies, but he wants to warn you and your Hokage. That's all we have for now. We won't be able to come back until the exams." Naruto nodded and said, "If what my grandfather's sources said is true, then they Sound Village plans to betray you also. They plan to kill your father and replace him around the time of the exams once you're committed. Be careful with that info, and I will make sure we are also on our end." Baki nodded and said, "We have to go. I wish we could stay, but we had to detour off another mission to get here to tell you. No one outside this house has seen us. Gaara used his Shushin to bring us to your chakra when we got close enough. Sorry." Naruto nodded and walked over and slapped the package on Kenkuro's back and said, "CYA makeup." He then walked to Gaara and embraced him in a firm hug and said, "Take it easy, bro. Remember my warnings and don't let the village get to you." Gaara said, "Just make sure if you ever need my help to call." Naruto nodded and walked to Temari and said, "I hate having to leave like this time. After the exams we can be together." Temari slammed her fan over his head and said, "Baka, it's only a few months and you better keep your promise." Naruto nodded and said, "Like I promised. The honeymoon will be a month tour on my cruise line. We still have a whole year and a half to plan." Kurenai said, "What are you both talking about?" Naruto said, "While I was away I bought a cruise line that goes to several tropical islands. I was planning on our honeymoons to be that, but it won't be until I can get my Jounin status, which will be a year and a half from now." Anko said, "You are so sure you will be a Jounin then, huh?" Naruto said, "I could probably pass Jounin now, but I want to at least work with a Genin team for a little bit." Baki said, "I'm sorry to cut this short, but we must be off." Naruto nodded and kissed Temari, and Gaara engulfed all four of them in sand. Rin said, "Is any day of your life normal?" Naruto said, "Nope. The day I die they will throw a village-wide party." With a smile on his face. Anko said, "So you going to tell the Hokage?" Naruto nodded and Anko said, "I hate to cut it short, but I have to meet Ibiki in less than an hour." Kurenai said, "I need to go back and apologize to Asuma. When I heard you were back I kind of spilled my drink all over him." Rin said, "The whole damn village heard he's back. I was having fun torturing Kakashi when he did that." Naruto said, "Then what are you doing here?" Rin said, "I had his mask and your song distracted me long enough for him to get away without me seeing his face." Naruto created a clone and flamed Shushin away only to reappear behind Anko and Kurenai, kissing them both. After he released them he said, "I love you both and can't wait to see you again." Anko said, "You have to Gaki." Naruto said, "Why is that?" Kurenai said, "We talked to Temari, and since we had to wait on you, now you have to wait on us. No kissing or dates until the exams when Temari comes to the village." With a smile as both their faces they left, laughing at the mock-hurt look on his face. Rin laughed as she walked out of the room also. Naruto sighed and said, "Why do women have to be so troublesome?" On a hilltop across the village a lazy cloud watcher sneezes. The next day Naruto sighed as he walked into his classroom for team assignment. The moment he did all talking ended and he looked at everyone and said, "Yo," and walked to a seat near the back. All of them had went home to tell their parents what had happened. The reactions were unique. Let's take a look. Flashback. Sakura walked outside and her mother was there and said, "Hi mom, guess what? I passed." Mrs. Haruno said, "Great Sakura." Sakura said, "We also had a new student arrive, and guess what? He is the grandson of the Sannin Tsunade and Jiraiya." Mrs. Haruno looked at her shocked and said, "Sakura dear, are you sure about that?" Sakura said, "Well, Jiraiya of the Sannins came in and said he was, and also said he was the son of some guy named Arashir Kazama." "Who is that anyways?" Mrs. Haruno had a bad feeling in her stomach and said, "Sakura dear, what was the boy's name?" Sakura said, "Oh, Naruto Uzumaki Kazama." "Why?" Mrs. Haruno had a flash from 6 years earlier. Inoichi said, "Then perhaps whoever did was a better person than you. Goodbye." She could feel the lump in her stomach as she reheard that and glanced at Inoichi and saw him looking at her and smirked at her. In Sakura flash, Inoichi Ino walked over and screamed, "Dad, I'm a ninja now. Are you going to teach me any new jutsu now?" Inoichi said, "Maybe Princess." "Who else passed?" Ino said, "Well, I know Forehead did, and so did Sasuke-kun and that new kid." "What was his name?" "Oh yeah, the new kid, Naruto Kazama. You know, he seemed cocky and all, especially when his grandfather busted through the window on a huge from." Inoichi looked at her first in shock at hearing Kazama, but then the frog could only be one person, and he said, "Why do you say the guy with the frog was his grandfather, and what did the Naruto look like?" Ino said, "Well, Naruto had whiskers on his face and blonde hair and blue eyes, and the guy with the frog said he was, and he also said he was also the dad of Arashir Kazama, whoever that was." Inoichi smirked to himself and thought, "It'll be damn, no wonder the kid looked like Arashir." He then looked at Mrs. Haruno, recalling what he said years earlier, and smirked when she looked at him. Inoichi said, "Ino, you might want to get to know Naruto better. If he is anything like the rest of his family, he's going to do big things." Ino said, Yeah, but not as big as Sasuke-kun." Flash and the rest had similar reactions of shock and worry. When he sat down, Ino walked back to him and said, "What was that yesterday with those two women?" Naruto said, "Oh, that. Just my fiancé saying hi. Acting like it was a normal everyday thing." Sasuke walked back and said, "Fight me." Naruto looked over and said, "Hey Nara, is he always this troublesome?" Shikamaru blinked and said, "Yes." "Do I know you?" Naruto said, "Not really, we met once before I left the village, but it was mostly in passing. It was about 6 years ago. In fact, I met most of the people in this room at least once. Sasuke, Sakura, Ino, Choji, Kiba, Hinata, Shino, and you, Shikamaru." Ino said, "You have a good memory to remember our names from 6 years ago." Naruto said, "Yeah. Anyways, what you guys do for fun in this village?" As he pulls out a bottle of sake and pours him some. They all look at him and he said, "I am immune to alcohol, so I can't get drunk. Like everyone in my family, I just like the taste." Kiba said, "So Jiraiya and Tsunade is your grandparents and your dad is some guy named Arashir Kazama. Who is that anyways?" Naruto spit his sake out looking at him and said, "What the hell they teaching you nowadays? I figured they would have told you the Yondaime Hokage's real name." Looking shocked as everyone in the classroom realized what he meant. Sakura said, "It must be great coming from so many famous people." Ino said, "Who is your mom? Is she as famous as the others?" Naruto said, "Actually, she is famous and a ninja, but she's famous for being an author. Her author name is Bichirin." Looking at the class as several of the girls in class recognized the name and Naruto smirks to himself, Kiba said, "I don't know a Bichirin." Looking confused. Naruto said, "You wouldn't, she only writes books for females and your family doesn't talk about her." Kiba said, "How do you know that?" Naruto said, "Because if they haven't told you about your aunt by now, they want." And he drinks another sip of sake just as Irika walks in with Shizune and Naruto screams, "Hide the sake," as he puts his away, making Shizune red in the face. Shizune said, "Shut it, Nizun." Sakura said, "Are you related to him also?" Shizune said, "It's honorary, my master Tsunade is his grandmother." Irika said, "Okay class, Mizuki won't be joining us anymore because he had an accident, so Shizune here is his temporary replacement." Okay, teams are as follows. Team 7, Sakura, Sasuke, Naruto. Sakura said, "Why is the new kid on our team?" Naruto said, "I was not here to do book tests, so my grades are a 0, but since I was trained anyways, I pass, and the highest book grades and lowest are put together." Irika said, "Exactly right. Now Team 8 is Kiba, Shino, and Hinata. Team 10 is Ino, Choji, and Shikamaru. Your teachers will be here sure." Just then a man with gray hair and his height covering one eye bursts through the door and slams it shut, leaning against it panting. Everyone's sweat drops and suddenly a voice on the other side of the door said, "Kakashi-kun, come out wherever you are." Kakashi looked around the room and saw Naruto and said, "Yo, I was trying to get lost on the road of life when I ran into trouble. Team 7 am Kakashi and am your sensei. First lesson, stop this mad woman. After that, meet me on the roof." Naruto looked at him and said, "You're on your own, Kakashi. I only fear 6 women and 1 is in the front of the class and 1 is on the other side of that door." Sasuke said, "Whatever, loser," and got up and walked to the door as Kakashi got up and ran out the window. Sasuke reached to open the door only for it to bust off the hinges and hit him in the face. Rin walked in and said, "I have got to thank Tsunade for that technique. Now where is Kakashi?" Naruto said, "He went out the window, Mom." Everyone's sweat dropped and Ino said, "What kind of dysfunctional life do you have?" Naruto said, "The best kind. Let's meet on the roof." And he got up, walking over the downed Sasuke. He was about to walk through the now doorless door when 2 figures walked in. Asuma looked around and said, "What happened here?" Naruto said, "My mom is determined to remove Kakashi mask." "She did that." Asuma said, "Who is your mom, Naruto?" Kurenai said, "Kakashi old teammate Rin." Asuma looked at her and she said, "What?" Asuma said, "How do you know that?" Kurenai said, "Why wouldn't I know my future mother-in-law?" Making everyone sweat drop. Naruto said, "Good to see you again, Sensei Haim." Kurenai said, "Don't forget no more until your other fiancé comes back." Naruto sighed and said, "Don't torture you students too much." And walks over and kicks Sasuke and said, "Get up, bastard." Sasuke groans as Ino and Sakura scream at Naruto for hurting Sasuke, but he ignores it. Asuma looks at Kurenai and said, "How the hell did you and him get together?" Kurenai said, "Long story short, he makes me happy. Besides him, the tame one of his 3 fiancés." Asuma fell on his butt and said, "3, who are the other 2? Naruto, who was walking by with Sasuke and Sakura, said, "Oh, just the daughter of the Kazekage and Anko." As he walks by them, ignoring the shocked look on Asuma's face. Asuma clears his throat and said, "Right, Team 10 with me." Kurenai said, "Team 8 with me." And they both left with their teams. When Team 7 arrived on the roof, they sweat dropped. Kakashi was hanging upside down with his hands and feet tied together like a rodeo animal. Kakashi looked at them and said, "Well, Team 7 am Kakashi and am your sensei. I would have you tell me about you and then give you a stupid test tomorrow to see if you're ready to actually be a ninja, but out of fear I won't, so meet at the Hokage office 7 a.m. and don't be late cause I want permission." Dismissed. Just then Kakashi went up in smoke and Rin, who was holding the rope, said, "Damn it. I thought I had him this time." And she took off going to find Kakashi. Sakura looked at Naruto and said, "Why is she so determined to see his face?" Naruto said, "Nobody has seen Kakashi's face since the day he was born. She is determined to do it first." Sakura said, "Why first?" Naruto said, "Hers and Jiraiya's publisher has offered a $1 billion reward for a picture of Kakashi's face without his mask. Since then she has vowed to be the first." Sakura said, "Why does their publisher want that so bad, and how do you know anyways?" Naruto said, "Well, my father wanted it done, and I am the publisher of both companies that published their book. Soon the secret will be revealed." Ha ha ha. Sasuke said, "You a weakling who is an idiot." Sakura said what he said. Naruto said, "To each his own." Siwaye. And flamed Shushin away.
Thank you for your views, likes, subscriptions, and overall support of my ongoing efforts to bring great content to all of you. Check out my Patreon for more mature fanfiction. The link is in the description and like everywhere on my channel.